Yo, what is up, everyone? Yeah, you see just me. So I will say I am live. Don't worry, Pong Soul will be joining us shortly as well. Whenever he becomes available. But shout out to the chat. You guys rock as always. Pong will slide in here when he gets available. He is on the way home, but he's stuck in traffic. So without further ado, this is PM in the PM episode 144. And as Pong is not here, I get a little bit of freedom to run rampant right now because some shit was just announced recently, I guess within the last 2 hours or so. And got some stuff to say about it. But shout out to the chat. Thank you all for being here for this episode of PM in the PM. I hope you all are doing well. See some awesome names in the chat. I'll wait till Pong gets here and we'll do the official chat shout outs like always on PM in the PM. Ooh, but I can't wait. I can't wait to get this off my chest here. Because, well, I think it was last year early. Maybe it was like in February or March or something. It was early in the year last year. And I was like, it's like PlayStation has a first party games problem. I just I said that on Twitter, and man, that tweet that I had made last year exploded a little bit with people saying I was delusional, that all they have so much and all these things, and we have all these third party exclusives, so everything's okay. Oh, they have so much in the works, so we have so many games coming. Everything is fine and dandy. Meanwhile, I was saying, man, what the fuck is going on over at PlayStation? Where are all the games? Where's all the first party announcements that we're used to getting? And then we had that early in the year show last year, and we got Fair Games and Concord, or maybe that was a 2022 show. I can't remember when that one was. And they announced those, and it's like there was no excitement from the PlayStation community regarding those games whatsoever. Concord ended up launching last year, and well, it disappeared quicker than you could ever imagine. People still held out hope. Well, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back as a free to play title. They're gonna save it because it was a game that was gonna be the future of PlayStation. It was a game that it was gonna be the Star Wars for them. They had so much writing on it and they believed in it. We have the games of service PlayStation, where they had said during the Jim Ryan era that they were going to be making 12 games as a service games or some shit like that. All their first party franchises, they were going to make good old games of service games based on these cinematic story based games that everybody loves. And everybody's like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is happening. But PlayStation fans kind of ignored it. No, we're still getting our games. You're still getting the single player story driven cinematic games that makes PlayStation what it is. Well, on the news today, we have two more PlayStation game cancellations from Bend Studios and also Bluepoint. Now, remember, Bluepoint was acquired, and they had started off with the Demon Souls remake, and they were going to get their opportunity to make their first big game by themselves that wasn't going to be a port or a remaster or remake or anything. They were so excited to do this. Bend had Days Gone that had come out, and then PlayStation kind of said, well, sevens aren't good enough for them, so we're gonna kind of act like this game doesn't fucking exist. Meanwhile, gamers actually liked it. Well, we move on to this point where Bend was gonna get their next game, and it was also gonna be a games of service game. Well, it turns out it's gonna be a God of War game, live service game. The game everybody's been dreaming of, a God of War live service game. Whew. Yeah, everybody's been waiting for that one, sitting on the edge of their seat. Hey, does anybody know when that God of War games of service game is coming out? I don't think anybody was waiting for it. I think more than anything, what happened is PlayStation came to their senses and said, what the fuck are we doing? This is a shit show. We have people making shit. We don't even know what it is. How do we turn these franchises into games as a service games? These cinematic story-based single-player games into games as service games. That was Jim's idea. What the fuck? What kind of idea was that? Then it turns out, hey, Shuhei Yoshida, who did an interview today with Greg Miller that aired, wasn't fully on board with that as well. And we see what PlayStation has become. Restarting Bend and Blue Point are going to have to start from scratch on some new shit. Gonna have to start from scratch. Are we even going to see any other games from them this generation? No, probably not. If they're starting from scratch, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 years away at least. You know how long it takes to make these games these days? What's going on? What happened? What happened to them being the ones that know how to operate the industry, that know what gamers want, that know when next generation starts, and that knows all these things, that knows how to deliver for their fan base? I just got to say, this generation, PlayStation sucks ass. It does. It does. This generation, PlayStation sucks ass. Now, I am admittedly an Xbox first gamer, but I've always owned PlayStations and I've played them for the exclusives that I care about. But there ain't shit. There's nothing that I care about. I didn't want any more sequels of the franchises that I didn't care about. And I especially didn't want games of service games for those franchises I didn't care about. But somehow PlayStation was fooled into thinking that's what everybody wanted. Or they thought that was the best way for them to make money. But then they forgot a key point. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. We don't know how to make these kinds of games. All of our studios, all of our development prowess is in these other kinds of games. They brought in Bungie. Oh, Bungie's going to teach us how to do it. Oh, shit. Hiroki Totoki took a look at that and says, we suck at business. Not even Bungie knows how to make these games because they're losing money out the ass, and we're having to have all these layoffs and everything because the people that were supposed to know what they're doing, they can't save us. They ended up talking us into canceling on the only one that had any hope of success in the main franchises, which was the Last of Us Factions, which already had an established fan base that was raring to go ready for that. But no, it's too big, too much, too hard. We can't figure out how to do it, said the Last of Us developers. Naughty Dog. So, well, what are we supposed to do? Well, we don't know how to do this. If we do this, we can't do the other kind of games. Well, turns out, man, this has been the most mismanaged time period in PlayStation history. Basically just ruining a pipeline and roadmap of games for an entire generation. Early in the generation, you got sequels, you got remakes, you got definitive editions, you got a few other kind of franchises. Meanwhile, Xbox is the ones that are in trouble. Again and again and again and again, article after article. Even this week, BS article from financial website says, oh, ABK and Xbox not meeting expectations for their shareholders. Well, turns out Satya had something to say about that today as well. We're going to have fun talking about all this stuff later in the show with Pong. But man, who's excited for, Sea Lord of Bravos, is there a reasonable chance Fair Games will be good? Who's excited for Fair Games? I mean, what the hell is going on there? Like, they have obvious home runs that they could do in the multiplayer space. The one that they seemed like they had the least faith in and put the least effort into marketing was Helldivers 2. PC crowd saved that, putting it day and date. Square Enix, who was their reliable partner for a long time, even said this, we've had enough of this. We're not doing exclusives for you anymore. After multiple of their multiplayer based games have failed, and also the single player tentpole franchises that they have has failed to meet their expectations. But everything's all gravy over there in PlayStation land. Everything is gravy over there in PlayStation land, many people say. Meanwhile, Xbox gamers, we have more first-party games to look forward to than ever before. 2025 is looking to deliver potentially 10 first-party games. And Xbox is the one that has a problem. Xbox is the one that has an issue. Xbox is the ones that know how to make all these different kinds of games and all these different kinds of genres and variety of franchises that we love. And we also get them in a subscription service day and date, which PlayStation has also failed to do. You can't make up the narratives that continue to swirl around this entire generation regarding Xbox and PlayStation, completely ignoring the facts about what is happening. Today's news about those cancellations will be a flash in the pan. It'll be gone. It'll be gone from everybody's memories in about a week when the next Xbox hate article comes out. And all these podcasts that just shit on Xbox all the time will be talking about whatever it is that's taken out of context or misinformed or misrepresented about some kind of comment that somebody said or somebody dug for some kind of random shit to make an article about. While we actually have concrete information about 2 more PlayStation games canceled today. But this isn't just the first 2. Well, actually, if we look at their whole games of service initiative that they started, I think we can all agree we wanted more multiplayer franchises and games on PlayStation. But when they decided to go all in on this, they really decided to go all in on this. And what we are looking at now is, I'm just going to run down this list. Concord. Well, it actually released, but it's retroactively canceled 2 weeks after launch. That's a shit show. The God of War games of service game canceled. Last of Us Factions canceled. Spider-Man 2 multiplayer from Insomniac canceled. The Ben Studio, that's the God of War games of service game canceled. Twisted Metal, Fire Sprite canceled. London Studios co-op game also canceled. Deviation Games, which was a studio that they were partnering with, and they were going to publish that. They even had them on stage at one of the Keeley show. Hey, we're announcing Deviation Studios, developers of former hit franchises, are going to make a brand new thing, and we're proud to be supported by Sony to be bringing this to the PS5. Canceled, and I think that studio was actually potentially shut down as well. And then how about Payback, which was a third-person Destiny spinoff from Bungie, also potentially canceled. Well, we still have Marathon to look forward to, right? And whatever that bubblegum shit is, maybe, or whatever that is, as well, from Bungie. Don't know. But, hey, that's the reality of the situation that we've been living this gen. Multiple games canceled behind the scenes. Restarting development on things, wasting developers' time, and nothing to show for it, and including for the gamers. And I still can't I still can't get the arguments out there like everything is great. What do you mean PlayStation's better than Xbox? Shit. Like you just can't make this stuff up. Shout out to Brandon Martin, member for 5 months. Thank you for not saying fly Eagles fly, Brandon. Appreciate you. Says you will see layoffs soon from PlayStation. Maybe so. I'm the report from Bloomberg said they were going to be meeting with Ben and meeting with Bluepoint to see what we can make without having as little layoffs as possible, right? So we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. They said they're not shutting them down, but I don't know. It's not good. It's not good when you spend years of development on a game. Years. And it's supposed to be the future of the PlayStation brand, future of your studio, and well, we're throwing that in the trash. Let's start over. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall. Maybe all these things sucked. Maybe so. But I can tell you who's really suffers from this is the gamers who were looking forward to games from some of their favorite studios. It is what it is, I guess. Fuzzy Tomato says, "How about that Mike McCarthy layoff?" Thumbs up. I'm down for that one. I want as much shit to change in cowboy country as possible, bro. Yeah, Alvin says, which means they haven't even started their next game yet. 2030 at the earliest. That's 100%, man. Like, while yes, us Xbox gamers had to wait for these studios to finish cooking a lot of the things that they were working on, right? We had to wait. 2022 was a little bit of a down year where we didn't have very much first party output. 2023 was good. We had Starfield, a hit in 2023. You had some other games hit in 2023 as well. 2024 second half was fucking amazing, right? 2025 is looking to be potentially like the best year ever in Xbox history, with franchises like Avowed on the horizon. You have South of Midnight coming soon. You have Doom: The Dark Ages, which we'll see both of those at the Developer Direct on January 23rd. We have Player Obscure Expedition 33 also going to be at that, which is a Game Pass day and date title, which has much hype around the industry and from gamers. And you have another mystery game that's going to be announced for Xbox showing at the Developer Direct. But on top of that, we also have Fable this year. You also have Outer Worlds 2 this year. Rumors of an Oblivion remake this year. And there's also more to come. I think I mentioned Fable. Apologize if I didn't. But yeah, Fable's my most anticipated for this year, period. But yeah, what's happening? Like, what's going on? I'm curious to get Pong's thoughts about it when he gets here. But like, I think the writing was on the wall for this when Jim Ryan left. Remember, we talked about it here on the show. When Jim Ryan left, I speculated that he saw the shit hitting the fan. He knew the road that they were going to have ahead, and he wanted it to get out before the shit show started. They make up their first party by doing second party, third party deals. They end up acquiring rights to games after they've already been in development. They will continue to money hat other games and do behind closed doors deals as well to prevent games from going to Xbox, cementing their pipeline. So that way their gamers can continue to say, it doesn't matter. Look at all these exclusives. But the first party games output is a massive issue on PlayStation, especially on a platform when that's what it was supposed to be about. Remember all the arguments about that's what made PlayStation special? About that's what made them who they are? Remember they were the HBO and then Xbox was basic cable, as some games media have said? Remember all that conversation? Meanwhile, at CES, we got two movies and a show announced at CES for PlayStation. They have more Transmedia projects announced for first party PlayStation IPs than they actually do have fucking games. What have they been doing? No wonder Hiroki Totoki took a walk around and said, this sucks. Like, we got to figure out how to make money. No wonder that was one of his first comments. We got to figure out how to be better at business. Meanwhile, reports come out about Xbox. Oh, they're failing to meet expectations of the ABK acquisition to shareholders. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. Satya is like, no, which he never ever says anything regarding this stuff. He's like, no, we're good. Like, we actually are exceeding expectations in numerous points. But just wanted to put that out. Also, people saying that Satya was considering shutting down Xbox in 2021, which that was one of the most interesting things I had seen, because that was, to me, complete and utter bullshit. Maybe this writer for this website was actually just listening to a certain podcast or something, and that's the shit that they ran with. But again, Satya's like, no, that wasn't a thing. And in what further context to put that in perspective for when that rumor was regarding in 2021? Next gen had just launched, right? We're pretty recent into next gen. We were in the middle of fucking COVID, and all of the and things are going really well for Xbox at this time, and all publishers and all platform holders. The only issue they had was availability. Everybody was sold out of everything. You're at the time when supposedly Satya was considering shutting down Xbox. They were recording record profits, like massive increases because of COVID. It was after that when stuff started to stagnate and the pipeline actually started to be like a little bit of an issue for Xbox, which has now been more cemented thanks to more acquisitions. That report had said Satya was considering shutting Xbox. It was either that or buy more publishers. So we're considering shutting down something that we're going to go spend $7.5 billion on to make content for, which at the time was potentially supposed to be like exclusive. Now we know that that's changing in the future, especially, right? But man, especially because of ABK now. But like you got articles like this coming out. You have more rumors about other Xbox first party franchises going to PlayStation. But nobody's talking about where the fucking PlayStation games. Where's the first party games? We got Ghost of Yotei, hopefully is actually going to hit this year, which is the first one I've been like, oh, this entire generation. That's the first one I was like, man, if I don't have a PlayStation when that comes out, that's going to kind of suck. You know, but at the end of the day, they're winding down to closer and closer to PC releases. So guess what? I can wait a little bit, right? I don't need to go get a PS5 just for Ghost of Yotei. And what we've seen from other franchises and other games that could have on the horizon, supposedly Wolverine's gonna be 2026. There's gonna be hype around it. People are gonna be excited for it, but from the leaked footage and everything of that, it's just not screaming excitement for a lot of gamers like Spider-Man did when it originally was about to release. So yeah, interesting things going on in PlayStation World. Pong's on his way. He'll be here shortly. Like I said, everybody. But I had to get this off my chest to start the show off because holy shit, right? You just can't make this stuff up. 2 more PlayStation games canceled. 3-Bit, you said you sent me a DM. Did you send it in the other place? Do I got to go over to Blue Sky? I got to go over to Blue Sky for 3-Bit. Hold on. Can you like occasionally make your way over to Twitter, you know, to share in the with the fam? How do I even get to Blue Sky on the PC? Okay, I'll look on my phone. Damn it. All right. Yep. 3-Bit sent it on Blue Sky. Okay. He said, yeah, no, I mean, if you want to, 3-Bit, you're more than welcome to hop in. Pong's on his way. He'll be here shortly, but yeah, dude, hop in here, man. Absolutely. Get in here, 3-Bit. I'm sure Pong would be super happy to see your face. And we can also blame this on 3-Bit because if there's bad news in the gaming industry, there's one person to blame. And it's not the Series S. Right? Not the Series S. It's 3-Bit every single time. I agree, Def, but I enjoy the garbage a little bit. I like Blue Sky as well, right? I will meander in Blue Sky and stuff. It's just a little bit quieter over there. You know, I still like the whole Twitter or X thing, you know. I find it more fun. But overall, Blue Sky is also really good. I just don't like going over there to specifically check for DMs. 3-Bit always the bearer of bad news. Yeah, I wonder how many game cancellations this generation we have 3-Bit to think. 2 times development cost down the drain, Mike says. Yeah, man. God, you want to figure out where money's going? It's an unreleased project that we wasted years on. That's been a Ubisoft problem. It's been a games industry problem. People chasing certain things, but not really seeming like they have a clear direction. And this was, to be clear, this is a result. Now, we're not in the Jim Ryan era anymore, right? But this is the result of the Jim Ryan era at PlayStation. This is the result of his tenure. When they were doing the reports, when he was doing interviews, when people were quoting him in an article saying about they're going to be more multi-platform in the future. They are making a huge leap into games as a service. We are going to be doing games as a service games on all of our major first-party franchises. 12 of them in development or something like that. And meanwhile, the first-party pipeline is like slow and drip feed. They're doing deals left and right to try and combat that. But here we are with more cancellations of those projects. How would it react? How would everybody react if we just had news today? Halo Studios and Coalition projects were canceled. Or let's say Obsidian and Double Fine canceled projects from Xbox or whatever. Pick any 2 studios. Bethesda, next project, and somebody else canceled. How would people react? Would people be over there shit talking Game Pass still on another podcast, or would they be talking about that? Or what would they be talking about? I'm sure they'd be talking about mismanagement at Xbox. They just can't figure out how to make good games. They can't figure out how to do things. They can't figure out how to provide for their gamers. They can't figure out how to get their shit straight. But I guarantee you there's going to be very little conversation about these 2 canceled games from a lot of that same community. Brandon Martin with the $2 super chat says, "Oh, I forgot, Mav. Fly, Eagles, fly." Oh, jeez, I had to say something. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate the $2 super chat. Oh, look who this guy is. The one and only encyclopedia of gaming dating back to the very first game ever created, Pong Soul, sliding in. Welcome to the show, sir.
Let me know how I'm sounding, everybody. I haven't touched anything from last week, but you never know when I show up on the Fun Speculation Network how I'm going to sound. I might be loud. I might be too quiet. So what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday night.
I think you sound good.
Okay, good.
3-Bit says, was that a yes? 3-Bit, dude, hop in, man. You got the free pass. You don't even have to ask.
Why does 3-Bit? Yeah, 3-Bit. Bro, I'm low on energy. Come on in here, brother. Even if I wasn't.
3-Bit's tired and sick. I mean,
cool.
Pong is.
Like
Pong is tired and sick,
okay.
not 3-Bit.
Okay. So, okay. I thought we were gonna have 2 of us in here.
No,
Jesus,
no.
We'll combine
Pong is tired and sick. He's been under the weather this week, and he had to fight extra traffic after a longer day of work, and made it home.
Putting in extra hours when you're not 100%, man. That's what you got to do, right? So, because I got to take tomorrow off because our freaking dryer's broke. And then I also got to fix the fucking garage door tomorrow, too. So,
you have to fix a dryer and a garage door?
Well, no, the repairman's coming for the dryer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right? So, because that's the nice part about rental properties.
Yeah.
They cover it, but you're on their time. So, it was either tomorrow or it was February. Well, that ain't going to work with a fucking dryer. So, it's tomorrow. So, they're coming to do that, hopefully to replace it. They should have replaced it the last time they did. And then I got to fix the garage door myself because one of our sensors is finally toast and I'm done. You can't close it. It won't close, right? Because it thinks the sensor's off. So I'm going to strip the wires and tape them together and put them on top of the fucking opener and call it a day. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. It's going to be fun. So anyways, everybody, happy Thursday night. Welcome to PM in the PM. Thanks, man, for, taking over tonight and getting started. Sorry, everybody, that I was late tonight again. It's been a hell of a week, man. I took all Monday off. It's not even respiratory, so which is great, but stomach bugs aren't as fun either. So It was almost done within 24 hours, but I'm still not 100%. I'm about 80%. So we're okay. I'm just exhausted today, brother. So, but I started listening a little bit of what you were talking about. So I don't know where you left off, obviously, when I hopped in. So just let me know where we're picking up on.
Yeah, I was just still ranting about the mismanagement at PlayStation this
Oh,
generation.
oh,
Yeah, two more
mm,
games of service games canceled. Having to
yeah. I heard
restart new
something.
projects now from Bend and Blue Point. The God of War live service game that nobody ever asked for is canceled. Um, don't know what the other one was, but man, yeah, I'm just like it's so much conversation always happens on the Xbox side, right? With these articles that came out like earlier this week that Satya kind of shot down today and all these other kind of things. Um, but we have this actual concrete thing,
Mhm,
and we have all these cancellations of
mhm.
games this generation. And over on another show, as I saw Gaz actually post, they were legitimately just talking about Game Pass, shitting on Game Pass. Like it's like what?
PlayStation actually they always try to claim that, well, PlayStation really isn't in the news that much. So that's why we talk about Xbox all the time.
Right, because
PlayStation
they
is
what?
literally in the fucking news with okay, first of all, you got Yoshida doing a fucking rounds of interviews, giving you gold nuggets everywhere about the internal running of PlayStation and about what happened all those years ago, about the fact that he was actually demoted, which a lot of you tried to say that it wasn't a demotion, that he wanted to go to the indie
Yeah,
side of things. Well, I think we cleared that fucking thing up, didn't we? You got that all to talk about. You got cancellations, more cancellations of your games as service. Your whole entire games as a service initiative at PlayStation, you couldn't be talking about that and where it stands and what the future holds and how much you guys think that that's going to play in versus the single player, knowing full well that your what once was Sony CFO, now the head of PlayStation, Hiroki Totoki, has said on multiple occasions that single player games are not sustainable in their current forms without having those other streams of revenue to help with those costs and also cost cutting. You guys couldn't be, with all of your business acumen that you claim nobody else in this community has, and nobody should talk about this shit because nobody knows anything, and only you guys, the gatekeepers, do. The ones that talk about Xbox financials all the freaking time. Could you guys not go ahead and analyze Sony right now? Legitimately analyze them with all of this brand new information coming out, how absolutely bad the PS3 generation was. I think that's interesting as hell. You guys never go back and even touch on the history. We touch on Xbox history all the freaking time. You guys go touch on Xbox history because you guys like to touch on all the bad points, but you guys never go back to Sony's and ask the questions. Oh, let's throw this one in there too. Oh shit, Yoshida came out and admitted they didn't have the resources to support the Vita because it would take studios that make their main games away from those main games and put them onto handheld games, and they couldn't do that. And they didn't have the resources to go get more studios to make the games for Vita to keep it alive. So you're telling me they developed a freaking fantastic product, one of my favorite handhelds of all freaking time, and they didn't have any plans to support it? What else does that sound like? Oh, the PSVR 2.
yeah.
Huh. Well, so you decided to go make the same mistake again generations later? But there's no discussion there whatsoever about what that means for potentially. I'm giving you guys gold mine here. I'm giving you guys tons of ideas. You have tons of discussions around. What does that mean for Sony and PlayStation down the road as far as experimenting and trying new things? As rumors swirl, they're going to try a handheld again. How do you think that's going to line up with these current quotes? And oh, by the way, let's just throw this on top there because Mav is currently talking about these cancellations. You could be talking about this games as a service initiative that Jim went all in on. And you could talk about the studios and the cancellations, the cost, the years lost of work, all the same stuff that you talk about Xbox. And again, we talk about the Xbox side over here. Again, we've been accused of being pony bots on this fucking show multiple times. So we talk about that stuff on top of all the other stuff, but you guys couldn't take this time to go ahead and run through that and then maybe question, holy shit, it was a much bigger loss if you think about it, because you took one of your supremely talented head honchos and Yoshida and moved him off the first party AAA side where he had been known to be kicking ass and turning out quality that you guys love for decades. You lost him because of that initiative and bumped him down to indies. You guys couldn't be discussing any of that, of what that says about the leadership at PlayStation? Sure, it's all rosy. You guys are killing it in console sales, man. You guys are killing it in freaking console sales. It's
What
all
what does
fucking
that
roses.
do for the gamer? You know what I mean?
It doesn't. But again, even if you want to have these high level conversations that really don't have anything to do with the gamer, they have these high level conversations in the dark side of places, and they claim nobody else has the business acumen to talk about this stuff, and we should never talk about it.
We don't
over
understand
here.
the macroeconomics.
We don't understand it because we're not in the C-suite level positions that some of them claim that they hold in certain companies. Well, why aren't you guys putting on those C-suite hats and taking this gold mine that has happened over the past couple days? And I'm talking, it is a gold mine if you really want to dig into it, and have those discussions that you claim you all would love to have about Sony, but they just never come up because it's all rainbows, it's all roses over at PlayStation. The numbers just keep going up, and it's just the console sales, and it don't fucking matter, man. Cancellations, studio closures, layoffs, bad buys, don't fucking matter. It's all underneath the rug, baby. Look at the console sales. Look at the console sales. Still kicking Xbox's ass 5-1 everywhere. Why don't you have the actual discussions about what this does to their strategy moving forward as we come into the second half, maybe the last quarter of this generation, when we start thinking about these new consoles potentially coming out in the next couple of years? Why aren't you talking about this stuff that you claim you would love to do on the Sony side, but are never really given anything because Xbox are just big mouths and they always talk and they are always out in the open and you laugh at them? That's right. So you're not serious. You've never been serious about this shit. Never. All about your ego being wrapped up into a brand. That's all it's ever been about. And obviously, it is better than ever to attach yourself to one of the most popular brands in the entire world. And to go against that, as we have seen multiple times, and just most recently with a gentleman who decided to just talk about how much he actually enjoys the Xbox experience now that he's tried it from the Sony side. If you step out of line at all, the audience, that wonderful, beautiful, just fun-filled audience that you've cultivated, turns on you instantly and will destroy your show. So you don't. You don't have real conversations around here. We take the hits. We have the real conversations. People still claim that we're straight up Xbox fanboys over here. I am the farthest thing from it, because if you want to talk about the 2021 shit, I was prepared to talk about the 21 shit without Microsoft and Xbox coming out and saying anything today. I was prepared to talk about it. Prepared to say what I've been telling you all along. I don't fucking agree with it, but that's the choice they made. They changed it back, and if they go down the drain, oh well. And I woke up in 2021 just like I did on a day with my Sega Dreamcast, and they said, well, we're shuttering everything, and your Series X is kind of a paperweight, just like my Dreamcast was. I'd be like, oh well. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't bitch. I wouldn't moan. But some of you have been rooting for this day since day one, and you can't even be honest about that on your shows. You still have to maintain this air that this air of maturity in adulthood as you console war continuously. You have to maintain that you're above it all. And that's not what you really want. You just really wanted the best from Xbox. Every single week now, more and more of you are all exposed. And eventually it'll wind up being 95% of you were all fucking frauds. And you all wanted Xbox to quit the gaming industry completely and go away and have it be a two-horse race between Nintendo and PlayStation, who only hoarded exclusive games for you. Because more and more games coming your way from Xbox. And guess what? All the games that you guys claimed are so shitty quality that you would never touch them with a 10-foot pole because they reek of Xbox. Suddenly, every week, few more of you get a little bit more excited about the new title being rumored coming from Xbox to PlayStation or Switch. Oh, and I'm hitting the Switch fanboys too. You fuckers are unbelievable. You guys have been flying under the radar for a long ass time. I actually heard, and I don't call out names all the time, but I thought it was funny as hell, MBG. I actually heard him ask the question to his chat if there was actually toxic Nintendo fanboys. I'm like, motherfucker, you claim you've been in this community for how long? You built your channel to how big, and you have never gone and looked at the Nintendo toxicity? Holy shit, man. Holy shit.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
about to be on a new level with the Switch 2. It has already started.
But you're not allowed to speak negatively about Nintendo.
Oh my God. It is unbelievably wild out here. Like I said, I needed to be here. I am actually exhausted. I can't believe I'm actually getting this out right now because my brain is fried right now. But this is stuff that I've been thinking about all freaking for the past 2-3 days now. And it is unbelievable. Yeah, man. My point about, to get back to what you were just talking about the new cancellations from Bend and from Blue Point, right? My main point was going to be that this is not only a collapse of this massive initiative, not that it's an utter failure, right? Because you found Helldivers 2, right? Which is big. That's great. Like, that's fantastic. And when Jim
one
talked
that it
about
seemed like they had the least expectations of as well.
Right.
Right.
And you remember when Jim did the initial, like, oh, we're gonna have whatever it was, 10 to 12 games in the next 5 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He said himself, we know that we'll probably get, maybe if we're lucky, 2 successes out of that. I'm not quoting him directly, but he said 1 or 2 successes. So he's got 1 in Helldivers 2, right? Which is great. But it is the actual loss of time from some of your big studios. Some of the studios are big enough to absorb, and it'll be okay. I mean, again, money, you can't get back, time you can't get back, so that is pretty shitty. But like an Insomniac canceling the Spider-Man 2 one, like, okay, but they were still working on other stuff. But now you got 2 studios who legitimately don't have any other projects. That was in the article, that they are going to be looking at starting a new project. You are now 4 to 5 years away. But so not only did you lose all of this time and resources with some of your biggest studios, again, I think personally that Naughty Dog had a whole big ass freaking team on Factions 2. That was probably a big one. And they probably spent a lot of time and resources.
They were telling everybody that, hey, this is bigger than any big first party game that or single player game we've ever done.
Right.
That's what they said, like on stage.
So
here's some concept art. This is how far we are.
Right. And that is a massive loss from one of your best studios, supposedly. That's when you're a triple A, just absolute print the money, package the game, package it 3 times and remastered and updated versions, and you're just selling. So you lost huge, but Yoshida's loss, I think, was the one I was thinking about when I saw his interviews, and that they lost all the time, the years that they could have had with him the past 3-4 years, 5 years. What was it? When did he get demoted? Was it 2021, 2020?
Yeah, it was like right at the beginning of the generation.
Right at the beginning of gen, right? So the last 3 or 4 years, his leadership that you lost from the AAA side of things because of this initiative is, I think, one of the biggest problems here too. And I think that people are going to overlook that fact now that the interview's out. We might not be talking about his retirement if it was different. We might not be talking about his retirement if he was allowed to stay and push back against that games as a service initiative and continue to have PlayStation focused on the single player games and then try to figure something else out, or maybe do less games as a service up front and get your feet wet first. I think you might not be talking about him leaving. So I just think there is so much gold here. But yeah, these 2 cancellations out of the blue like this. The good news is the studios aren't closed. People aren't losing their jobs as of right now. Again, that can change.
Yeah, they said like they're going to meet with them, and hopefully there's like minimal loss of jobs or something. So I expect there to be some, right? But whenever projects transition,
not a full closure like the Concord studio, etc. Like that's what you don't want to see in these situations. But yeah, it's a restart for 2 more studios. It sets them back even further. And I'll just end it here. This does solidify my point that, again, I would be, if I had run Xbox, I would have been much more Peter Moore than Phil Spencer through this whole thing. Absolutely. There is some alternative universe, and I threw this in one of our DMs, that I would love to see how this played out if Satya and the money bags up at the top of Microsoft had actually backed Phil's entire plan from the get-go and had allowed them to go toe-to-toe with exclusivity through this generation with these failures of Sony and how far it's putting them back, and now Xbox firing on all cylinders with all of these games. And I still would say that there should still be multi-plat games like Call of Duty or whatever the case saying over on PlayStation. But I'm talking about had they held everything else and really promoted the shit out of Game Pass and really tried to sell their consoles across the globe and really started pumping out these titles. I would love to see how that winds up as we wind down this generation and go into the next generation with a full bore Xbox, one for one. Let's go. We're still competing the old ways while still doing all this other stuff, but we're still going to compete the old ways. I would love to see how that turns out right now with all this stuff kind of happening. But I still think that the PlayStation's fine. Not the dude claimed PlayStation's dead, but the turmoil, there's absolutely turmoil in there. They made some very, very poor ass decisions. And if it wasn't for their popularity saving them, they could be in a world of hurt right now. Had they made a few different decisions, they could be in a massive world of hurt. That VR2 loss is going to be not good in the books at the end of the day. Again, PlayStation's kicking ass money-wise. There's no doubt about it, but they don't have, which is what I thought was great that Yoshida brought up too in the interview with Kind of Funny. They don't have their electronics department to save them anymore. PlayStation is the savior. Back when PlayStation 3 almost utterly failed and Yoshida confirmed they were taking losses for 2 years because of the cell processor on the PlayStation 3, and he flat out came out and said that the Vega TVs were the ones covering the bill the entire freaking time, right? That just, again, those days of Sony dominance in other divisions, which is something we've talked about on the show for years and years and years, and if you're too young to remember, you probably wouldn't get it. You probably can go back and see all the advertisements and all that kind of stuff and kind of understand, but you don't understand how big Sony was. Sony was like Apple, okay? In a lot of ways, Sony was like Apple. That hardware is their gig, and they did it extremely well, but they just don't have that backup anymore. So
I mean, they said it themselves that they're kind of trained. Yeah. They said we used to be a during their financial thing, or their conversations that they had late last year. They were like, well, we used to be, more like everybody knew us as the hardware company, but what you've seen is us kind of transition into like a more of a media company, like making entertainment products, right? Like, and you see all the acquisitions they're making, the announcements that they're making. Back in the day at something like CES, you would see like new Sony gadgets and Sony TVs and Sony this and that of every different kind. And we got 3 like multimedia and transmedia announcements based on PlayStation franchises, right? That's the kind of what they transitioned into. So, I mean, put investing money into anime companies, acquiring Crunchyroll, like all these things is kind of like what they are transitioning into, because they got destroyed in the TV space, right? They got destroyed in a lot of the markets that they were strong at, that was really carrying them, and the margins aren't as strong there as well. Like, and you're not making all the monetization and all these other kind of things, right? But that's the part that they've been missing from gaming, is figuring out how to, besides the third-party games, because of them being such a popular platform and the third-party games carrying them, which was why ABK being acquired by Microsoft was such a huge deal to them, right? Those third-party franchises was carrying the monetization for PlayStation brand and their storefront from their popular console, right? But they have failed to figure that out from the first-party side the entire last generation, and for most of this generation, until they finally had Helldivers 2 hit. But we saw what Jim Ryan's plan was. Well, we're going to take our popular brands, we're going to do movies, TV shows, and we're going to make games of service games based on all of them. Well, from the game development side, they were missing some key points. We don't know how to fucking make them. We don't have the studio capacity to make them. We don't have the money to make them. And we don't have the ability to go out and get the support and the amount of developers that we need to make them. And here we are with almost all of these projects canceled at this point. We have a couple left that are still going to see the light of day because I think they're further along. But time will tell what the kind of success levels that even those games will have. And who is waiting for games from the first party developers is the gamers. As they sell their brand and their identity as we make special games that you can only get on PlayStation. And this is the reason why you buy a PlayStation. Right? And where everybody was 100% on board with that for a long time, right? Or at least PlayStation diehards were, and saying that their games are better than anybody else's, all this other kind of stuff. Those are the games that we're not getting because of all of this, right? Those are the games that have been put on the back burner, have been set aside to not be created because they wanted to chase this other initiative. Whereas I didn't have any problem with them doing games of service games, multiplayer games, without all thought they needed to do more of that. But going all in for all these studios across the board and all this stuff has actually impacted the experience for many PlayStation gamers this generation, and that's why I think that it's the worst generation ever for PlayStation. For me personally, it's by far, as far as the games I'm interested in playing that come from PlayStation Studios and the games that I get excited about, it's why I don't have one anymore.
Yeah, that's why I haven't bought one.
I've went in twice, sold twice because I just, it's a loss for me this gen, and it's not because I hate PlayStation. I want to love PlayStation, just like I want to love Nintendo, right? But they just haven't been doing it. They haven't been doing it for me for a very long time now, and a lot of it is because of the management at the studios.
Mismanagement.
Mismanagement.
Yeah. Mismanagement. Call it for what it is. Again, that word has been tossed everywhere except for, when this comes up, and it is. It's mismanagement. It's poor decisions on all levels, right? And that's obviously why we've seen so many changes made. And so it's fine to call it out for what it is at this point, because it is a trend. This isn't just a one-off anymore. Like the first time it happened, I can't remember which was the first one or whatever it was. I think it was Tokyo, right? Japan. Studio Japan, right? Everybody dismissed it because they had become a support studio when Jim closed them, right? So some of us who remember Japan Studio making some extremely creative games had said, wait, hey, wait, I mean, sure, they're just a support studio, but that obviously was a talent studio who has a lot of history with Sony. Like, okay, but everybody brushed it under the rug and said, whatever. At this point, this generation, and again, it's been hard hitting for everybody. It's not like it's just PlayStation. Okay, so Nintendo's kind of just been fine, but for PlayStation and Xbox and a lot of third party studios and publishers, it's been bad, and there's no doubt about it. But this is now a trend. And a lot of this obvious when you can see it clear as day with the games as a service decision and initiative. That's just bad. That's mismanagement. That's bad choices being made that's costing you. Like the easiest one to point out right here, right now, Mav, is that whatever you want to say, think about how Days Gone sold initially, came out initially from Bend. It became a cult kind of phenomenon. Okay, it wound up selling what 8-9 million copies.
Yeah, and it's a good game.
It's a good game. I want to buy it on PC. I actually did play it on my PlayStation 4 back in the day a little bit. I played for probably like, I don't know, 15, 20 hours, something like that. Had a lot of cool shit in it, right? I love zombie games, so whatever. I'm always down for them. The motorcycle shit was awesome. But again, it had its issues, of course, but it did become this cult phenomenon. It's actually done decently well on PC. Two, it's always on sale. It's one of the cheaper PlayStation games that you can pick up on PC. A lot of times it's on sale for like $20. Man, they could have had that. They told Ben, no, you're not making Days Gone 2. Right? They told Ben flat out. That's when they lost the lead one of the heads at Ben, who has gone on to come out and talk crazy shit from time to time here and there. But that decision, think about it, Mav. They could have had a Days Gone 2 coming out right now. Don't you think the fan base would have appreciated that more than whatever games as service they were working on? like by a long shot, unless it was something like SOCOM or something of that level or Siphon
Yeah.
Filter. But we haven't seen any indication that we're going to go back to any of that stuff. So let's just assume it was a new IP. No, Days Gone 2 could have come out. They could have done what most good studios do nowadays, Mav. The second iteration of a game comes out. They learned their lessons from the first one. Second one comes out even freaking better and shows up and picks up more fans. Now you're talking about a 10 million plus kind of selling game potentially. Again, nothing set in stone. But I'm just saying, how much more valuable would that have been to Sony right now at this space and time when, again, they've been having to buy third-party exclusives to fill holes. They've had great games like Astrobot, but that's, again, not for everybody. What's that sold? 2.5 million copies? 2.5, 3 million copies? That's not a Spider-Man 2. It's not a console selling game. It's a great game. It got Game of the Year. It gets all the awards. It gets the glory. It brings your brand up that recognition. But come on, man, that ain't the system seller. That ain't the big game that your whole entire fan base is waiting for. Neither would have Days Gone 2 been that. But how great would have been to have that filling in right now? So that's the stuff that you can look at and go, man, oh man, what a waste.
I think there would have been a
And
lot of hype for Days Gone too.
that's what I'm saying. Because
Yeah,
again,
like
because of the following it's gained. Yes, absolutely.
it
I
would have
think
been a
could
big announcement and would have gotten more
Yes.
because of the people that loved it, and I think
Think about the tech,
yeah.
man. Think about the tech leap with the hordes of zombies in the first one and what you could do. Think about what they could have done with the PlayStation freaking 5, bro. Like they could have really bought
Yeah.
those mobs up. They could have created new mechanics for crafting, new weapons, all sorts of crazy shit, man. Who knows what Ben could have done? Yeah, man. Missed opportunity. Missed
Yeah.
opportunity for sure.
100%. Got a couple super chats to get to. Razor Ultron with a $2 super chat says, "We're gonna get up to Mach 5 quick tonight." Oh, and then he hits us with a "Fly Eagles Fly." Oh.
Choo choo, motherfuckers. Choo choo.
Chris Jones, member for 21 months, says, "You get them fuckers, Pong."
Yeah, I'm not in the chat, but I was reading your encouragement as I was going on my rant tonight. I appreciate that, everybody.
Where's 3-bit?
He fell asleep.
He fell asleep. Yeah, I think 3-bit was like, "Hey,"
Or his internet crashed.
yeah, it took me too long to get to Blue Sky, I think.
Probably.
Shout out to 3-bit. Love you, man. Hope you're doing well. Anyway, yeah, it was just crazy to see that, but like I said earlier, Pong, I think this news will be like a flash in the pan, like the big games media and all of these people that write articles, clickbait stuff about Xbox all the time. We're just gonna move
Who
on.
cares about Blue Point?
Yeah.
cares about
Yeah,
them?
that's what they'll say, like stuff like that. Like,
We'll see something new from him down the road.
yeah.
Sony's fine.
If it like
Look
also,
at these console sale numbers, everybody.
yeah, well, hey, we're fine. Everything's great. Look at us, we're doing great.
Fine.
We're okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
The article again that came out earlier this week, Pong, with that Satya was considering shutting down Xbox in 2020 to 2021. Yeah. He flat out denied that aspect too. But like the one part of that, like I almost think the writer was like saying misaligned his timeline in his brain or something, referring back to the 2016 time point, because in 2020 2021 we're off the heels of next gen launch, right? We were in the middle of COVID, which was at the time when every one of these companies, including Xbox, was having record profits, like just through the roof, right? You had Game Pass like breaking records for them. You had the consoles had just come out. You had record profits from gameplay time across the board in the ecosystem. You couldn't even get an Xbox at the time. Remember, everybody was sold out of hardware at that timeline, early in this generation. So like the whole timing of that comment just never made sense to me with what it's referring to. And then say, but they decided to buy ZeniMax Bethesda instead to continue to push Game Pass that way. Like that's the aspect of it that is like Well, if you would have said maybe 2018, 2019, right?
I mean, obviously,
Then
there's a lot more points in time that where you could point to that would make more
no, it
sense.
just doesn't make any sense for 2020, 2021 whatsoever for me
The,
for that
the
consideration.
only thing I will say lines up, and this is red stringing, right? This
Yeah.
is tinfoil hat. This is just taking a red string. The only thing that lines up with that kind of decision being made is that Phil Spencer was made CEO of Microsoft Gaming in January 2022. So if that was on the table and they made that call, we're all in, then the promotion comes to Phil, right? And right out the gate in 2022, he's named CEO of Microsoft Gaming.
Right, but that was
So
off the heels of the ZeniMax Bethesda acquisition as well, right? Like,
correct, it
yeah,
was, but I'm just saying that they could have held that promotion back while they were deciding what they were going to do. You know, I got it really doesn't matter. As I've always said, these corporate we're in a totally different
yeah,
world. Like I said, the mystique. I think a lot of us old heads, Steel and I kind of had a small conversation about this too, in the DMs a little bit today. I mean, we might expand upon it on Saturday, but um, a lot of us old heads, I think, still, just like a lot of people, still hold on to the old business models and the old way of doing business in this industry and what we know and exclusives and all that kind of stuff and how that has all kind of played out here this generation. A lot of us too have this built-in mystique from way back in the day, depending on how long you've been in, playing games and kind of paid attention to the industry, with this mystique about this industry. And it's something that devs still try to claim, and it's something that I've pushed back against a lot through the years that I've been podcasting, because I know that it's not the reality anymore. But there was a mystique, a magic to this industry at one time when it was a much, much smaller industry, when it was a hobby for nerds, right? When it was that situation, when the developers and publishers who were in this industry, sure, there's still money involved, there's still fame to be had. Everybody knows the story about obviously Epic and Gears and Cliffy B's Lambo and all that kind of stuff. There was still fame to be had, but it was just a different magic to the industry back then, where people who were in this industry, whether you were a gamer or a developer or a publisher, you had a certain level of real deep love for this industry. And I'm not saying that's all gone. I'm not saying that nobody has that anymore. Of course there is. But I talk about this when the industry gets so big like it is now, it does dilute everything. There's bonuses to it. And that's why I call this the golden age of gaming, because we're getting more games than ever before. It's freaking coming out of every single orifice we have. We have games coming out of at this point, right? So that is one of the bonuses, but it does dilute the specialness of the industry. And there is no doubt in my mind that, especially in the AAA side and parts of the AA side, that whole magic, that whole mystique about how devs operate, how the publishers work, how games are made is completely gone. This is a corporate fucking world. This is absolutely corporate. Indie, some AA, you still get some of that just pureness down there. That's why we see so much innovation in the smaller spaces still to this day. We get glimpses of it in the AAA. We'll get things from time to time, but we see so much innovation. But the rest of it is all corporal. This is flat out cyberpunk corporal. That's all this is. So do I care that Satya could have been considering this? No. Right? If he was, he made the decision he did, and we know the rest is history at this point. But would it shock the hell out of me that, even though it doesn't make sense to your point, Mav, that like 2021, come on, look what they're doing. There's no way. They have record numbers. Game Pass was still growing at a pretty good rate, etc. Would I doubt that somebody like Satya, who gives no shits about us as gamers. I don't care how many smirks he makes at the camera, even if I smile back and kind of chuckle and have a good time with it when he does it during the ABK acquisition. No matter how many great speeches he makes, no matter how much bullshit he talks, this is fucking Microsoft at the end of the day, okay? And we know how much they've killed off throughout their history, even under Satya. So would it shock me, Mav, that Xbox, even though we all sit back and go, Really? Then that doesn't make any fuck. That he was considering it, that the board was considering it, that the money men were considering. No, it wouldn't shock me. Right. And I just think that that's something we do kind of have to keep in perspective that those people at the top, I still believe there are people who care about us gamers. I still believe there are people who are who have been lifers in this industry who honestly still do have the passion that they initially had. One of them I still believe is Phil Spencer, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's lied or not. And again, I certainly call into question lots of things. Again, one of my favorites, Todd Howard, has lied about lots of things on stage. Right? There's always going to be corporate speak to those people in those kinds of positions of power. But I still believe Phil, in his heart of hearts, take all the titles, strip him of everything, kick him out the door at Microsoft. I think he's at home gaming, right? Yeah, he's going to get another job, right? If he needs to feed the family, he doesn't need to at this point, right? He can live off whatever he's made. But let's say he had to, he'd go get another job, but he'd be gaming at night. You see his tag still pop up if he didn't change it. I think that still exists, and I think Phil is one of the true people that care. But for the most part, no. Strauss Zelnick, he doesn't give two fucks about us as gamers. Like, I like the dude as a business dude, and I love his no-nonsense attitude. I love his straight talk, and I give him all the props in the world for that. But come on, man. Strauss ain't firing up Grand Theft Auto online and going around running drug deals, okay?
Yeah.
He's just not.
He'd probably hold his controller upside down if he tried.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Not everybody in this industry does. But I think now how big the industry is, it really has gotten to the point where it is just a massive corporate. That's all it is. So decisions like that, that make zero sense to us, could be made, do happen. Studio closures that we go, what happened, right? That's what I'm saying. I think some of us have to take a step back from that mystique that we have about this, or that we feel this industry still have. It's not that way anymore. It's just not. It's not.
Yeah.
So anyways, rant done again. I'm sorry. I told you I want to talk tonight.
Yeah, man. I was like, there's
lose-
a lot happening. There's a
Yeah.
lot of reports, a lot of things, like a lot of rumors, a lot of suggestions, a lot of speculation, official news today. I mean, like lots of things happening. We're on the heels of more game announcements next week for sure. And it's just, January starting off strong. I for news right now anyways. And it is for gaming too, but like it's
Shane,
just crazy.
And Shane, they denied it. What I'm saying is it doesn't fucking matter. Shane, I think that we have both, Shane, you and me and Matt, we've gone back and forth through the years, right, Shane? You've been around for a long ass time, like in tons of communities, man. And I've always shouted you out and appreciated you for showing up, man. We've had our disagreements, right? Through the years about how we've talked about Xbox or whatever. I think we both come to the realization, Shane, and I think that's why, I've seen you agreeing with me more a lot lately, is it just doesn't fucking matter. It's just that it is a conversation point, and I think like I said, I always like to take it to a little bit bigger picture, just as the old guy, like just to take a step back and look in the mirror and go, is this something we are kind of creating ourselves a lot of the time around the industry when it comes to these types of topics, and that we just should probably look at it a little bit differently? So that's why I just like to explore those ideas a little bit. Again, yeah, they've come out and denied it. It is what it is. Yeah. If that's all corporate life, that's just corporate speak too. Hey, it wouldn't surprise me either. But does it fucking matter? Nope. Because Xbox is still here. Game Pass is still here. We're about to have the biggest fucking year ever in Xbox's history for first-party launches, period, point blank, and a freaking story. They just came off of a Game of the Year game in Indiana Jones. Had it been put out a month earlier, would have been recognized in the Keeleys, but is getting recognized everywhere else, and we'll cross our fingers that carries over to this year's Keeleys, because it fucking deserves it. I played some more last weekend, Matt, before I was sick, like I told you I would. I played some more of that game. Jesus. Done. That's closing in on Dragon's Dogma 2 at this point. I don't think it's going to surpass it just because how much I love RPGs, but my God, Indiana Jones is one of a kind gaming experience. I don't care what anybody else says. They are coming off of a second half last year that was phenomenal as well. Perfect? No. But phenomenal? Yes. This year could absolutely crush every single competitor out there in terms of sheer volume and quality from what we're seeing. Cards aren't laid out yet. We will find out. But yes,
they don't need to rush stuff out anymore if somebody is more time, they're like, hey, you know what? Like, we're having trouble finding out where to fit games right now. Take your time. Right? Look what they did with Avowed is what their reasoning was for that. They're like, well, we're
Yeah.
too crammed at the end of 2024, so we're gonna move to 2025. Whatever the real reasoning is, or whatever. Like if it needed more time behind the scenes, that was legitimately a loaded into the 2024. Nobody was really, well, besides us, like like felt a huge void that Avowed was missed in the first party pipeline for Xbox last year. There was plenty of stuff to play, right? But
Yeah.
it bolsters 2025 even more. And what a year we have to look ahead. As news is coming out about PlayStation game cancellations, with only maybe a handful or one or two things to really look forward to on PlayStation this year, as far as from their like either their publishing side or their first party side. There is a plethora of stuff to look forward to this year on Xbox. But if you just read Twitter, the articles or whatever, and all this stuff, you just think that like it's horrible
We
over at
just think that they
Xbox.
announced
And
that they're closing up shop today.
yeah,
Like
like it's
you would
just
think that Satya came out and said, everything's looking really rosy this year, but guess what? Those games are coming because I decided to close up shop today. That's what it
yeah.
feels like when these people talk about it, and it's
But
just
the
it's
the
dumb.
headlines and the
Yes.
choices that people use for this stuff, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I saw another one that triggered me the other day. It was like yesterday. It was like GameSpot's headline on something. It was like, oh, $100 GTA 6 could save the industry this year. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck off with that, man.
You could go back all the way though,
Like,
man. When we started speculating, I did say
yeah,
Strauss, $100 base game.
it
$100
could
base game.
it could,
The only one that could do it.
it could do it, but I will not even entertain the fucking idea.
Bullshit. Caitlin will kill you. She will buy
Yeah.
it. We had that
No,
discussion with her
I'm
live
not
on the
saying
podcast. Oh,
I'm like because of this reasoning, I'm not saying I'm not gonna buy it.
what was her cap? I think her
I'm
cap
not
was
gonna entertain the
150.
idea that they should do this or that
Well, okay.
it is
Okay.
going to
Okay.
save the
Okay.
industry
Yeah.
because that
Caitlin, if you're out there, tell me what your cap was on was it 150 or was it 2?
I don't
Was it
remember it
200
or
you said you
whatever.
were out?
$70. The
Yeah.
game's gonna sell like fucking crazy. It's still gonna do a
Oh, yeah.
massive amount of numbers. If they raise it
Oh,
to
God.
100, it's not gonna save the industry. It's gonna help 2K more and take
Oh,
two. Like,
the projections are off the charts for that game.
oh yeah,
Like,
it's
they're
gonna be
talking
insane. It's gonna be
yes.
nuts, man. Like $70, whatever you charge for it, it's gonna be insane. But they said that $100 for this game, it is could save the industry if they do that. Like, fuck off with it. I don't even want to see an article say they almost like saying, hey, if they do this, it's good for gaming in any kind of way. Like, we already went through that with the $70 transition. Now you're gonna go out there and lead with, hey, people should start charging $100 for the most anticipated games to save the industry. Those most anticipated games are gonna sell like fucking hotcakes. You're just promoting these publishers to make more profit. And guess what? What'll happen? Some other publisher will be like, oh yeah, that was a good idea. It made them a lot of money. We're gonna go ahead and try it on ours. Oh, and guess what? That game's not gonna necessarily hit as well as GTA 6. What do we see with $70 games with all these things when they said it was going to help fix things and oh, there's going to be less monetization now because of this. So games are going to be more polished because the budgets are higher, so they're going to be able to afford to work more on these games. The first half of this generation was a shit show with unoptimized games, more monetization than we've ever seen before. PlayStation was releasing on their end. I actually said this early on, is like, if I could justify it for anybody, it'd be PlayStation because their games didn't have monetization, right? But then we found out that's what the fucking generation now dabbling in games of service games. So if the $70 was to prevent that, then what was it for?
It was all bullshit. We knew what
It was all bullshit.
It was for share prices. That's all it is.
These games are gonna sell if they're popular and good, and they're not if they're not, right? You can charge 60, 70, $100, whatever. GTA 6 could charge whatever the fuck they want to, right? But to act like it's some kind of savior for the industry if they charge 100, like Take-Two's profits are gonna help fucking Ubisoft right now. Make that make sense. Anyway,
Is what it is.
how's it going, Pong?
It's going good, brother. It's going good, man. I don't know what topic we're gonna go to. I don't know what we're gonna do here.
Yeah. We just kind of just ran
We're
with
just kinda going
what
we're
was
just
going
going
on earlier.
yeah, we're just going all over the place. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the lead. Obviously, Switch 2 about announced today too, and I just been seeing stuff because I heard who was it that posted it? Oh God, I don't even know who posted it. Anyways, I can't think. And but somebody did point out why you announced the Switch 2 basically 3 months before the actual real reveal where you actually deep
Yeah.
dive it, right? And the point was so your third parties can start announcing games. And I thought that was an interesting point, and it started making me think, does this Dev Direct have multi-plat announcements, Matt? Are we transitioning to that point already, or do they keep it strictly Xbox here?
I don't know. That's an interesting thought. Like, what if there is a
Yeah.
game that's going to be here that's like, hey, and
Mhm.
this is coming to Switch too, or it's a little surprise
Right.
extra thing, or whatever, or maybe it's not the Dev Direct or some other announcements coming from other third parties coming soon as well. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
because
I just thought of it.
there's more things that happening on the horizon, but it's very
I'm just curious
interesting.
if we're going to see that move, right? If we're going to, or if they're going to keep everything pure Xbox at their shows and then just announce them afterwards, or have them on the YouTube channel,
Yeah, I
whatever.
mean,
You
I
know, you know what
think
I mean?
it's like
Or be at the other shows, like when
when
they
it when
have
it
the Dev
comes
Direct, or when they have the Nintendo Direct.
when it comes to Nintendo,
Yeah,
I think it feels different for many people for some reason, you know? So it's like, oh,
sure.
cool, Nintendo's
Yeah,
and Xbox have a partnership and they look at it like that way, right? So I don't know, it'd be interesting
it would
to
be
see something like that, like
if one of these newer games, Mav.
because I mean, you got to think of it like from your perspective too, like if they really are doing this and it's like Xbox's they want
Yeah,
to promote those things too because they want them to sell.
right.
You know, they don't want to just like
Absolutely.
and
Well,
they
no,
don't want to like not market
no,
the
no.
games
That's not where they're
that they
heading.
are
Yeah,
doing other things with, right?
yeah,
So at some if I were them personally, I wouldn't. I will say
right.
this, I wouldn't and I would let it be at Nintendo's own thing in April. I
Yeah,
think that'd be a better place for it.
that was my
Um
question too. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think I would. And I don't think that they will either. But it's interesting
okay.
thought. Hey, Matt Burns, member for wow. Does that say 43 months?
I believe it with Matty Burns. Shout out to Matty
Holy
Burns.
shit. That might
One of the
be
OGs.
is that the longest one I've seen so far? 43 months. That is crazy, dude. Matt, appreciate support for almost 4 years, dude. That is crazy, bro. And just for that, fly or no, he didn't say fly Eagles fly. Okay, good. Sorry.
Thank God.
Philadelphia Eagles will win the Super Bowl. Yes, is what he
Close,
says.
close
He
enough.
still got me. Yeah.
Close enough.
It's hard for me to say these things. But you guys put it in the
It's all right.
chat. I gotta say it.
You got rid of your coach.
Shout out
He
to
was
Matt.
he was terrible. So you got rid of one of the problems. So
Yeah,
you got to get
just
rid of the lead problem, Jerry. But that ain't happening. So what are you
yeah.
gonna
No,
do?
he's
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah.
I think he's gonna be buried with his like.
He's gonna be like Jimmy Carter, and they're
Yeah,
gonna roll him up into the suite, and he's still gonna be there like that,
yeah,
just like Al Davis was. Like it's yeah,
yeah. He'll be
that's the way
buried with a
Jerry's going.
BlackBerry or something, so,
Probably.
so he can try and message from the grave.
But the Switch 2, if we want to get into the Switch 2, just because this is our main topic, we can. It is just this is going to be a potential money printing machine, especially if Nintendo doesn't have their usual launch lineup that they normally have for their systems. Now, again, you can look at it and say, oh, there's no way Nintendo's not going to do that. But from what we're hearing, right, Mario Kart 9 is going to be the headliner. Obviously, Metroid Prime 4 is going to be another headliner, but they're talking, the rumors currently are that the next Mario 3D is just going to be announced. Now, the release window potentially in the first year. Do they have a updated Zelda Breath of the Wild ready, right? A enhanced version of that? But from the third party aspect, Xbox included now and PlayStation included, if PlayStation's going to jump in, and it sounds like there might be some PlayStation games too going to Switch 2 at some point here. if they're going to jump in, if you're a third party, you want to capitalize on this opening salvo, because what happens with people who go buy a brand new system? They want to buy games that show it the fuck off. Well, Nintendo games show off their systems in a certain light, I guess you could say. Not my style, but they do it a certain light and people love it. And that's fantastic. That's why it's almost record selling. But there's going to be games available on the Switch 2 that the Switch only players, or even just the players who maybe have played the games back in the day on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, never got their hands on, or they did get their hands up, but they want to play it on the go on the Switch 2 now because it's their new shiny hardware. They want to show it off. This is a money-making potential, Mav. So I'm expecting these announcements from these third parties, just kind of connecting to what we were talking about, including Xbox, to come fast and furious. ACG just posted, by the way, that he can confirm there was a
Ubisoft,
yeah, there was an article that came out that Ubisoft has more than a half dozen games planned for the Switch 2. Now, how many of those are at launch? We will see, but that does not shock me. The state that Ubisoft's in, they're going to chase this golden goose as well, right? That they're going to chase this sucker down. But I think it is actually a smart play, and that if Xbox behind the scenes had switched to dev kits this whole time, and some of these new titles this year, Mav, could work on the Switch 2 because it's got the almighty DLSS, SSSSSS, and it just works. You kind of be dumb at this point, since you're going this route, to not just do it and have it there at launch. Like, can you imagine Doom on the Switch 2 at launch? Doom: The Dark Ages.
Oh yeah, I very well could. Yeah,
that'd be massive.
Yeah,
massive. So I just wanted to put that up.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Micah Ford, also member for he's just out there saying, "Hey, look at me too," matching Matty Burns with the 43 months.
You look at you guys.
43 months.
Geez.
Says word, Micah. Shout out to you, bro. So yeah, I saw numerous takes on the Switch 2 announcement today, right? And now there was some that were like, I'm so disappointed, or like whatever. I'm like, what did you expect? You know, it's Switch 2. It's literally the next evolution of the Switch. So like for me, I'm like, okay, it looks like all the prototypes, all the leaks, all the things that we've already been seeing. They didn't show off really any games except for Mario Kart 9 or 10, whatever they're gonna call it.
9.
Supposedly,
it's 9. Supposedly,
yeah, but supposedly they might call it 10 because like there's a mobile.
Because X.
Well,
go with the X.
I think there was like a mobile one that was like
Mario
Kart 9.
You know how much Nintendo lore I know.
Yeah, no,
okay.
All right. I don't know. That's what I think that's what I heard Boom talking about earlier. Anyway, so Mario Kart, they show it off. Like, I don't
24 player supposedly Mario Kart.
I don't expect a Mario Kart game to blow my eyeballs off, right? Like, wow, look at this evolution of the graphics on a Mario Kart game, right? Mario Kart's gonna be in higher resolution, have the same art style, look a little bit better than it was. That's not the kind of game I'm looking for, like a showcase of like the hardware or whatever. So, but I think for fans of Nintendo, seeing a new Mario Kart is a very exciting thing, right? I think the prowess of the capabilities of this handheld are going to come from primarily these third-party announcements and everything that we're going to see. The games that used to not be able to run on a Switch, never could dream of even launching on a Switch, or would have taken so much work to even get some kind of feasible thing playable on a Switch. It just wasn't worth it, and it would have been a shit product anyway. That you're going to see a lot of these franchises and games start to be able to release on the Switch, which makes the Switch 2 more of a complete product for gaming instead of mainly a Nintendo and smaller games type device, as now is going to be, hey, you're getting a lot of third-party games, you're getting a lot of this and that, a lot of classic franchises, or a lot of games that came out last gen, I imagine getting ported to it as well. So for me, there wasn't any kind of like oh my god, it looks incredible or it looks bad or whatever. It's just kind of like, hey, there's a Switch 2. I can't wait to see how actual capable it is later on when we get more game announcements and reveals and games playing on it. The design, I like the fact that it's bigger, right? For a handheld. If I am playing a handheld, I like a little bit bigger.
8+ inches. Pause.
Yeah. I like a little bit bigger screen, right? So that fits me well.
Yeah.
I don't I don't think it's an OLED. I think it's a LCD.
People are thinking that it's LCD.
Yeah. So,
Always
but
gets me
maybe they'll
fascinated.
have
Are
a
we getting Hall
OLED.
joysticks? But this is Nintendo. I hate this. I hate them, Matt, for this shit. I hate this. Anyways, continue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I think
My God, bro.
overall,
Respect the
like
grind.
I'm hoping there's like another version of it that's more expensive that has a OLED potentially, if that's the case. But for whatever for what it's worth, this is something that I'd be primarily playing in docked mode anyway, and I think that it's going to be much more of a capable device in that sense,
Yeah.
than the last one, which has me excited. But we got to see the games, right, running on it in April and see what all the announcements are. But I imagine it'll look kind of like last gen for Xbox and PlayStation, right? Is what my imagination is of what the Switch 2 will look like. Which for me, I'm okay with that. From Nintendo, like I don't need it to be a Series X, Series S, or PS5 capable type device. I just want it to be in the current HD era of
Mhm.
gaming, right? Where they can run most of these games pretty well, and especially if you do 1080, 1440p, I'm still happy with that for bigger games or whatever. As long as they look good and have good performance and all that kind of stuff, that's what I'm looking for from it. So we'll see more when the April was it April 25th.
Oh
I
God,
think
was
is
it?
when they said,
I can't remember. I know it was April. I thought it was April 2nd, but maybe I just saw it
or
wrong
maybe
in the notes.
I don't remember. It could April whatever.
Yeah.
When we get the full on Nintendo Direct in April, I'm looking forward to that. But I think you're on the money there with so that way these developers can start announcing
April 2nd.
Switch. So April 2nd. Okay.
Yes.
So that way
Yeah.
developers can start announcing their products for Switch 2.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, especially the indie companies too. Mouse PI just announced that they're coming to Switch too, which is one of the games high on my list this year, which is that old time Mickey Mouse
Yeah, yeah,
shooter
yeah.
that's coming out. They just announced that for Switch 2 as well. So it'll give those teams too, because there's a lot of Switch fans who love indie games too and smaller games. So it's gonna be great for everybody. Again, this is gonna boost the industry a lot with the Switch 2 coming out. As far as the reveal goes, I understand why people are disappointed. Again, 3 months in advance. If it's for this reason, it makes sense, but still 3 months in advance, it was the worst kept secret
Yeah.
in this fucking industry. So many leaks had already happened. Like, give the people like I thought the graphics and how they kind of showed the difference between the old and new was great. And I thought I liked how they did that. To me, again, I need to know if these are Hall joysticks or not, because we all know the Joy-Con drift problems. Again, I hate Nintendo for this shit because they take the cheap shit way out. Hall joysticks are now standard, basically. Like, this is not expensive technology. The OLED, okay, so you're paying a few dollars more per I don't even know screen, but come on, it's not even like OLED is the top of the line. It's not like that. Oh my god, it's a double the amount of an LCD. But anyways, I just hate Nintendo for this cheap shit. I need to know that stuff. I will say that all the buttons that they added to the insides of the Joy Cons, which is obviously needed for certain games and to be able to do
Yeah.
certain things. All that to me is just more shit that's gonna fucking break. But um, fine, whatever. I'm gonna use it in dock mode most of the time, anyways, and I won't be using the Joy Cons outside of potentially using one of the controllers. And you heard me right. I don't think I'm gonna buy it day one. I'm not gonna try to buy it day one. I got too much going on this year. I'm not going to be able to do it. But next year, when everything settles down, when I get kind of into my new place and everything else, I think that's when I'll get the Switch 2. I am on board with the Switch 2. Now that they've said that backwards compatibility for almost all titles, I still need to know clarification on this. That was another one I was like, what are you trying to pull? Is it just going to be the obvious games, or are we going to do a PlayStation and we're going to make Switch 2 enhanced titles from your first party, and you don't want the old ones to play on there, as I
Yeah.
said in our DMs, which actually would be smart because you make people keep their old Switches to play the old versions as well, because we know that Nintendo devices and games are collector's items. So yes, you do that, and then you make them rebuy the same game for the updated version for the Switch 2. Could they pull something like that with a certain collection of games? Yeah, this is fucking Nintendo. Of course they could. I love the redesign of the color. That always bothered me, and that's the one thing that I saw, bits and pieces of it. I didn't dig deep, I was at work, a bit ultra busy. But I did see bits and pieces bubbling up because again, I told you I do follow some Nintendo fans and that kind of shit too, just to see what the other side talks about. Um, they were disappointed in the color, Mav. Can you all stop? Most of y'all, not the kids, not the family kids that you buy the Switch for. Okay, I'm not talking to your family members, but just most of y'all in this community, Nintendo fans, you're all fucking adults. Okay, why can't Nintendo make an adult looking fucking machine? Why does it have to look like a fucking toy for you guys to be happy? You know there's going to be a skin to make it look like the Switch 1. You can have your stupid ugly blue and your ugly red on that ugly ass white, and you can go be happy. Why do you guys bitch and
Well,
complain about them making an adult handheld that actually looks like an adult handheld that actually, for me, visually, not that it would stop me per se from buying it. Actually, I go, thank you, Nintendo. Thank you. You open up to a bigger audience, making it a simple black controller with some beautiful highlights. I love the toned down version of the blue and the red, which almost,
yeah.
again, on that screen kind of looked orange. Again, I didn't pay a whole bunch of, but it's just a light red. I love that look with the black. I thought that looked really cool. Um, and like you said, Matt, the bigger screen, if I am ever going to play it handheld mode, which will be rare for me, having an 8+ inch screen will be amazing. But overall, I understood the kind of some of the sentiment, the disappointment after, oh, now we got to wait 3 freaking months. Thanks.
Yeah,
Like
it does suck having to wait 3 months for that, for
bro,
sure. Yeah.
especially after this long, Mav. Like this is a worst kept secret. Like we've gotten so many like everybody's known that shit would is gonna go down. But overall, thought it was decent for what they wanted to do with this. I thought it was a good one. They've got me, Mav, again with the backwards unless they pull some of their bullshit. But again, I don't think it's gonna hit a lot of the third party stuff that I'm interested in, like Fire Emblem and those Xenoblade Chronicles. Shout out to Monolith Soft too, by the way. I'm coming back, babies. I can't wait to play some of your games that I've missed out these generations. So I'm coming back. And you got 2 more RPGs in the works. Yo, you got 2 RPGs in the works right now. This is gonna be fun getting back into Monolith Soft. So I'm excited because again, this is the first Nintendo system in decades. Literally, if you guys are the first time here, or if you've forgotten, I personally had kiddos, own Game Boys and such, whatever else. I personally have not owned a Nintendo console or handheld personally since the Super Nintendo. Okay. So decades it has taken for Nintendo to get back to a spot where I'm interested in. It's mainly because of the backwards compatibility and because of the third parties that are still doing Nintendo exclusive stuff with RPGs and that kind of stuff. I absolutely next year we'll be budgeting in for a Switch 2 to get it, and maybe by then they'll announce the OLED, and I'll be even happier that I waited because yeah, I definitely wish it was an OLED. But next up, like you said, man, we got to get the specs have supposedly leaked, but again, until they're official, they're not official.
Yeah.
You know,
Those have been
I leave the tech
being
side
leaked
away.
since last year or so.
Yeah, and it still says they're weaker than he wanted. You know, it's all about the DLSS. That's all it's about now. So whatever. Again, I need to see it on a big screen like you, Mav. I need to see that it's not blurry anymore, that it looks nice and crispy,
Mhm.
or at least close to crispy. And I'll be happy with that. That's fine. And I just really wanted to give a shout out to Nate the Hate, by the way. I again, I know a lot of you hate leakers and a lot of you hate speculation town. Obviously, here in fun speculation, you've been with us for a lot. You know we crave that stuff. We love that stuff. Nate the Hate takes a lot of bullets for some of the shit he's been reporting lately. This one especially. People were coming at him in the morning because it had not been announced yet. Yo, shout out to Nate the Hate, man. He got this one right. He nailed it perfectly. He's nailed a lot perfectly. It's not going to be 100% when you come into Leaker Town and speculation and getting sources and all that kind of stuff. But I hope people are taking notice. Nate the Hate got some legit sources because not everybody had this one. So shout out to Nate the Hate.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I'm more excited. I've
Yeah.
I've owned every. Even though I don't own a Nintendo right now, I've had a Switch this generation. I've owned every Nintendo generation. I've owned every PlayStation generation, right? But right now, currently, I'm just Xbox ecosystem, right? Xbox and PC and Steam is pretty much what I'm gaming right now. I'm completely happy, but I miss being excited for franchises from these both companies, right? And Nintendo is one that I really wanted to be able to enjoy last gen because the games there was games that I really would love, right? But like the hardware was just holding everything back for me. So, and it's not because it's handheld necessarily that's dockable. It's just because of the way that some of the games that I was excited to play look when you put them on a big screen TV, and like literally like blurry boxes and text. It felt like your PS2 era stuff at times and things like that. Like trying to put it on a modern display. It's just like the Nintendo made games themselves, like Mario Kart and stuff like that. They looked fine. You know what I mean? But it was a lot of these other ones like Xenoblade Chronicles and Fire Emblem, stuff like that. And for me, like there's a certain threshold that we can get to where I'm content. Like last generation fidelity for me, I'm I'm happy. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 came out on the Xbox One VCR and a PS4. It looks fucking glorious. There's still tons of games that launch on the Xbox Ones and PS4s that look great. So if it can achieve around the level or higher, then I think there's a lot of reasons for me to be more excited about the experiences I can get on that device. And could it be potentially something I talk about more, get excited about more, and play on more, and all that kind of stuff? I hope so. I really hope so because I'm gonna give it a try. I'm absolutely gonna give it a try, right? And I can't wait for the April 2nd showing to see what they got for us.
Yeah, for sure. And if it is true and we start seeing more announcement even outside of their direct from third parties, like at an Xbox show or the supposedly now February PlayStation show, that'll be cool too. I mean, I think
Hmm.
that's totally dope for the Nintendo only players that haven't had that experience of seeing some big budget games come over to, or some bigger titles from, I should say, from PlayStation and from Xbox show up on the Switch too. And again, I don't think PlayStation's going to do a ton, but I think there's a chance that they could put some over those over there. I mean, I just really do.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
they already have the Lego Horizon game go to the Switch
yeah,
this
the Lego
gen,
Horizon
so
is the one, obviously, and that's been the rumored one that's going to eventually come to Xbox this year too,
yeah.
as well. So, but yeah, I'd love to see them put us. I would just put Spider-Man 2018 over on freaking Nintendo at this point. Like, why would you do that? Like, if you're, what does that do for you? Nobody's buying a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 6 in the future to play Spider-Man 2018.
Right.
Okay, they're just not. Why wouldn't you? At some point, it just makes sense to make some more money because there would be probably a pretty good group of people that would buy it, and it's not going to cost you a whole lot to make that version. So I don't know. That's just how I look at things as where everything's going right now. But whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
Shout out to Calorie, member for
Calorie,
22
calorie.
months, who said, I'm only at 22 months." Lame. Now, 22 months is a damn long time too, bro. Even 1 month, anybody can support's never expected here. It's always appreciated. So any of the channel members that have, especially like those that have been like supporting for that long with your
Did you see
membership,
Micah's
is
response?
absolutely amazing. What do you
Did you see
say?
Micah's response? I read it earlier. He goes, "Oh, that's cute, calorie."
That's cute. um,
uh,
yeah. Well, I mean, what a day with news, Pong.
it's been a big day.
Yeah, or
I mean, massive
news,
day.
rumors, like
Yeah.
Satya's
Yeah.
coming out of
Rumors being shut down. Like, yeah,
like it's just
slammed.
stuff's all over the place. You're right.
Oh
What a
man, and the
fun
kids are
industry to cover.
the kids are warring again. It's just I
Oh
can't believe
yeah,
some of you. Some of y'all are just nuts, man. I really I don't understand, man. I just don't. I just want a game, bro. I just want a game. There's so much bigger stuff going on out here, brother. All the damn time. In the real world that's actually impactful, man. This shit, man, sometimes. And I know sometimes it's a distraction, just like gaming is, right? It's an escape. Some of y'all really enjoy it. But man, some of the time and energy the books that are being written, as if you are actually getting paid to analyze this industry, is fucking insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't
I'm
imagine. Like, I'd
spending
rather
that
spend
much
that time
time. Yeah.
talking about the games I've been playing and write up a whole section on the games I've been playing and my impressions. Again, because I never give you reviews because I don't finish games. So, but I give you my impressions, right? I'd just rather spend my time doing that than talking about breaking down the difference between resolution scales between two games, whether or not they're worth it for the extra 3 frames, and how you're going to make this happen, and why PlayStation still, even with cancellations of games, is still selling more, and Xbox's numbers are all fake and fraudulent, and they've never been real. It's all been bullshit, and they can't be a loss leader, but Sony could be a loss leader whenever they want to, because it just makes more sense, because that's how PlayStation runs, and that's what Sony does. Oh my God, I'm just so sick and tired of all of you. I'm glad I've muted all of you. Again, I go back to see the vibe sometimes, just kind of get an idea so I can keep up to speed on what is actually being said. But my God, I'm so glad I don't see this shit so much in my timeline. Oh my God, man.
Yeah. It's
Man.
there's so many conversations I just don't even like care to take part in. Like,
Right.
it's just like, man, I just like, and a lot of it's the stuff that dominates conversation. And it's so I actually, when that's happening, I just don't post as much because it's just like there's nothing to talk about so I want to talk about TXR. You know what I mean? Tokyo Extreme Racer. I
Right.
want to talk about fucking South of Midnight and Doom and Clair Obscure Expedition 33 and whatever this mystery game is and all that stuff. Speaking of TXR, Tokyo Extreme Racer, did you see the early access price today was revealed, Pong?
$30. $30.
$30.
Yeah, I gotta
So
figure that one out. I gotta grab that. Oh,
it's
for sure.
and if you
You
get it on early
you can't
access,
say anything, right? You can't talk about it.
no.
Okay.
But I can't I did get the box that
Yeah,
they
you got the
sent to
box
me.
opening.
Yeah.
I watched you. I watched you do
Yeah, I
that.
was super excited because I didn't think I was actually
Yeah,
getting it
except
because
you
I saw other people get theirs and I
mutilated the
didn't.
fucking box, you moron.
Man, they put this industrial ass tape on
I
it.
don't
It was like
care.
really thick, like
Who are you, bro? I was like, oh fuck, he did not just do that. I
well,
saw that.
dude, I was trying to cut the tape thin and it wouldn't cut. So I dug in a
You go
little
get something
deeper.
sharper. Maybe.
Well, that is a sharp ass knife.
You go get something sharper.
No, this thing is like,
It's a collector's fucking box, bro. Tokyo Extreme Racer is back after decades of being stranded on mobile to some weird ass versions. We are getting a Tokyo Extreme Racer, bro.
I know.
Oh,
It's crazy.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
It's crazy.
I cannot wait, man.
I'll be streaming it on the 23rd.
Okay.
Well, actually, that day, man, we may not be able to stream it on the 20th. Have you figured out if you're gonna be able to take that day off?
I'm not gonna be able to take that day off.
Okay. So
I'm fucked now.
yeah,
I'm done. Yeah. I had to take my hours for Monday and on Friday, so no, I'm done.
So we'll do our regular PM in the PM that night.
Yeah.
I and whoever is able to join me will co-stream the Dev Direct that morning. And maybe like I want to stream TXR that day because it's early access release, but with two streams the same day, I don't know if I can fit a third one in there, right?
It'll be tough.
Unless I play TXR right after the Dev Direct and just roll into that.
You play it leading into the Dev Direct in the wee hours? You should get your morning hours in, bro. That'd be dope. No?
Maybe. That's a good that's a good idea. Yeah.
And then take a break.
If not, then I'll be streaming it the next day. But
yeah,
that's gonna be a busy day next Thursday.
Lore, Master Jasper, I did see the Blood of the Dawnwalker trailer, bro. You give me vampires, I'm in. We still don't get enough vampire games. That game looks phenomenal. Obviously, we gotta wait to see how it turns out. But because it is ex-Witcher and Cyberpunk developers from CDPR,
yeah.
How
far away do we think that game is?
Year or two, maybe, because they actually did have a little bit of gameplay in there. So
yeah, they said the gameplay reveal this summer, so maybe they'll announce it for 2026.
Well, maybe it's for next year, or maybe it's 2026.
If it's another 2025 game, I'm gonna like.
It looks phenomenal.
It's just a weird time to announce it now like that. You know what I mean?
Unless it's going to show up on the Xbox stage or show up at the Keighley Summerfest, right? So just to get that out of the way, the announcement, and then move into, like they said, the kind of the gameplay reveal. But yeah, I think it looks great though. Again, we have so many games, it's stupid. But I will make time for vampire games, especially seemingly open world RPG, RPG vampire games, which we rarely ever get. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, yeah, man. I don't know what else. I mean, um, hey, man. Sad day too. I came in here too hot to even think, but Bob Euchre, passing away today. Man,
Oh, really?
yeah.
I didn't even
Godspeed to
see
him,
that.
man. Uh, I'm old enough to remember the Miller Lite commercials. I must be sitting in the front row. Um, and obviously, his appearances in Major League,
Major League
obviously
as
when he
classic,
did
yeah.
a classic, bro. When he did wrestling, he did
Mhm.
wrestling announcing for a while, like interviews and stuff. Yeah, he was a part of my childhood for sure, right? So, Bob is a big loss, and a lot of people loved him. In Hall of Fame, right? Inducted into the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. But David Lynch, my God. Godspeed, David Lynch. Just a true visionary um, in the movie scene. And again, this goes back into my movie heydays. You guys know I don't watch a whole lot of movies, which I actually did this week. I saw Oppenheimer. I actually finally saw Oppenheimer this week. But David Lynch, and again, his list, if you look at his list of movies, he's not for everybody. So if there's some people out there that go, I don't get it, he's overrated, I understand you. But for me, almost every single one of his movies hit in some way. And yes, some of them are like Kojima-esque weird, like I can't follow shit, so this kind of makes it cool good. Sometimes, like Twin Peaks. I think so. I saw somebody tweet out today. I watched Twin Peaks back in the day.
Yeah.
Um, Somebody shouted out him today and said, "There's nobody else but David Lynch who could have actually brought Twin Peaks to the masses. If you guys are too young and you go look at Twin Peaks now and you say, wait, this was a popular show, that was like massively, like highest rated show a lot of the time through its run. Like that show. And if you watch that show, you go, he got that many people to watch this because it is nuts. It's some of those episodes are a trip through insanity. And I just love that tweet today. David Lynch was a creative through and through and just a special dude. Had an ear for music. Did a lot of work with Nine Inch Nails with Trent Reznor. It's just phenomenal dude. And I just got to say, he's a big loss as a visionary. But his whole list of, I started listing off movies, thanking him for them in my tweet today. And I said, hell, the whole fucking catalog. Thank you. I mean, that's basically what it is at this point. But if you have never seen Mulholland Drive, please go watch it. Simply ridiculously cool. I know the new Dune has ruined the old Dune for a lot of people. The old Dune is still my favorite one. Classic. If you get a chance to watch Twin Peaks and you're into the strangeness, go watch Twin Peaks. Wild at Heart, go watch Wild at Heart. Lost Highway, go check out Lost. The list is exceptional for his work. So shout out to David Lynch.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Whew. What are we gonna get to now, Pong?
I don't know. What are we gonna get to, man? What do
I'm
you want to
trying
talk about?
I'm trying to look through I'm gonna look through
We got
our
Yoshida's. We got Yoshida's.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, interview.
Yoshida's
We
interview.
could kind of break some of those comments down. If you need, because I don't know how many people. I don't know how many actually got posted. Uh, Genki JPN. I know some people hate him because he's a PlayStation dude, but whatever. Genki underscore JPN. He did a pretty good breakdown of a lot of the points that Yoshida was making.
Mhm.
He was making a lot of tweets on it today. I saw him posting a lot about it. We could talk about that. We could talk about Jez's hint of the Dev
Ooh.
Direct. We could
Yeah.
talk about that, Mav. So if you want to do that, we can certainly do that too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's roll with that
I
one.
know there's been a lot of news this week. Like this is one of
I
those
know
weeks,
it's hard
bro.
to
I didn't want to miss tonight. You were like, hey, just let me know if you
Well-
got to cancel or whatever. I'm like, no. And then I had to be late. And I'm like, just start the show. I still want to talk. I feel like shit, but I want to talk. Let's go.
I've been like, and today I've seen all the stuff go on, and I tried to catch what I could, but I've been in the car mostly today, like off, like running around and stuff. So, I saw that there was another hint that just like maybe even more than one surprise.
Yes. He
So
did.
like, and I think that's beyond I think that's beyond the
Yeah.
5. I think he's maybe hinting at 6 games could be shown. Because he had already hinted.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. He had already hinted about there being maybe a 5th game. But like I'm wondering, the top left and the bottom right corner of that Dev Direct thumbnails that we have is going to be filled in by 2 more games. And we already know that there's one surprise showing up. So like, do they have potentially 3 games to show at this thing that we don't know about? The one obvious one with the question mark, and then the other, and then potentially 2 more? Or is he only hinting at 1 more? I don't know. I took it as like even another one potentially beyond 5. Or so I don't know, guys. What do you think? I see that Antonio Newman says I don't think he's hinting at 6. Today earlier, I had liked his tweet, so let me go find it. I want to read it exactly what he said. And a shout out to, well, I'm not. Maybe I'm not supposed to say anything. Never mind. Trying to find the tweet that I liked earlier that says, okay, maybe more than one surprise too. Okay, so maybe he's hinting at just a 5th thing instead of the 4th thing. So maybe he's hinting at 5. Because it was in response to
even bigger than we thought, right? So because Colt was already talking 5. So
yeah,
maybe he is hinting that it could be more.
Well, because the Clobral's tweet was like Doom, South of Midnight, Clear Obscure, surprise game.
Right.
And then Jez's reply is maybe more than one surprise too.
Right.
So maybe he's just alluding to the fact that there could be a 5th game.
There could be more.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was 6 though. At this point now, like
we talked about, there's too many. I mean, they got so many that they could do that. Sure, absolutely. Why not? Or it could be another surprise third party. Again, we're in new territory now because kind of everything. Again, the rules are broken, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Like I think that they could do whatever they kind of want here. Rumors are things are starting to pop up in the background about that mystery game that Jez did say in his Windows Central article that is an Eastern franchise that's been around for decades, making its comeback or whatever he's
it's a decades IP that has decades of history. Getting a brand new game.
There's stuff popping up, and if the one that popped up today, and we're not going to say anything. Obviously, I'm not going to say shit. Does come to pass, I'll be curious to see it for sure, at least.
Yeah,
and it has the potential to be something really damn cool. So we will see. But anyways,
but that rumor is one that we've already speculated about with our numerous speculations about what this game could be. It's one that we've mentioned numerous times. What's funny is we were right about the
JRPG or the Eastern shit. You were right specifically because you said, "Hey, the East would make sense with all the other."
That's the first thing I said with Boom when this first came up as a conversation point right after it was announced. It was like surprise location would make sense with the other locations being in the East, right? But and then I switched to like maybe I was leaning more first party after that, but then obviously more rumors that started swirling seemed like as more of a Eastern thing, which would mean most likely third party unless they have some kind of other surprise announcement or it's a Microsoft game publishing deal, which would be like a second party thing, right? But these other rumors now are even seeming even crazier. At least for me as a fan of the mystery franchise, like I'll be very excited to see what it looks like if it's true. And I'm not going to say what it is, what the rumors are, because I think there's a good chance that it's
we're not going to spoil shit. So we don't.
Shout out to Skatalites with the membership. Welcome to the speculators. Choo choo, motherfuckers. Choo choo. Appreciate the support.
But the fifth one, like you said, Matt, could be anything at this point because the only thing we do about the fourth one is that was unannounced, right? That was an unannounced IP because that's what Aaron Greenberg and others had said.
Yeah.
So this fifth one could be one of the first parties, right? It could be another one of the first. It could be Oblivion, even though Jez has said multiple times he's heard that it's not there. But we got more concrete rumors again this week that Oblivion is real. The remake is real. It's Unreal Engine 5, and they're changing systems, and it is going to be like a different game. So it could be that, or like you said, it could be a partner game, right? It could be one of their big partner games from anywhere. Like it could be one of the ones that we've already known about, like IO, right? And Project Dragon, if that still exists. It could be something like that. It could be Contraband with a new show off and an actual
Yeah.
surprise launch date, right? It
Yeah.
could be. This is stuff we haven't heard about in a long ass time.
There's so much potential, man. I would love to see like another one of the first party games. Surprise, this is also 2025.
Right.
Right? If there's a fifth thing there. And one of those like Oblivion remake would fit really well with that. It would be a great fifth thing as a surprise to have there.
What we need more RPGs
Yeah.
this year. Let's go. We're so
Yeah.
light this year.
For sure. You could have like something like Everwild could show up, like something you haven't seen in a long time, or like, but whatever it is, I think it's held back to be a surprise, right?
It was held back to be a surprise on top of the surprise that was
Right,
you know
exactly.
that was
So
hinted.
is it even
So
a bigger surprise than the
bigger
surprise, or is it a smaller
that's what
surprise?
well, think about
It's
it.
like a cherry
I
on
was
top. You know what I
Well,
mean?
think about Christmas time when your parents used to hide and they would pull out one and they would, look, you must have missed one. Santa had one for you,
yeah.
and they
Oh,
give you one. And then you open it
Yeah.
up and you're like,
Wow, that was great.
awesome.
Thanks, mom.
Oh, wait.
Thanks, Dad.
Wait. Dad's like, wait, what's that big one over there?
Yeah.
Right?
And then they
Then all of
bring
a
you
sudden there's another
another,
one. Yeah.
they bring you a fucking game console,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
for the last one,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Or like or like he rides a bike from the
Right.
around the
Right.
corner.
Big wheel.
Surprise! Yeah.
No, but that's
Exactly.
what I'm thinking too. If you're gonna do that, yeah, you would think that the fifth one, unless it's going to be a surprise to start the show, like I said, because of the way that it's positioned. And Colt was, guess like it's a game that's just gonna show up in the beginning to start the show off before Doom to get everybody rolling right away, and then still that last surprise game in the secret place, secret location is gonna be a big reveal.
Hanging
because
it
it's
over
gonna
our
be
heads the
a
entire
franchise.
direct. Right.
Yep.
Man, it could be many ways this is going to go. The good news is we'll know on Thursday. I anticipate there being more negative Xbox articles and conversation until then, and then we'll have exciting news on Thursday, and then on Friday we'll have another kind of bad Xbox articles and stuff come out again. It's just kind of
They
the
should have
news
let
rotation.
Nintendo go this morning. They should have let Nintendo go this morning, and they should have had the Dev Direct today.
Yeah, man,
They
that would have
should.
been crazy.
It would have been crazy. God, I can't stand waiting. You guys know how much I hate this shit.
Yeah,
I hate this. I just want to
So-
see.
I'm trying to think about. Okay, so we got a good idea of what the mystery game that we know is going to be there is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wouldn't anticipate the fifth thing being on the same page as that,
No.
right? So it would be either first party, maybe something indie, right?
Could be.
Or like a Double Fine thing, right?
Correct.
So you could look at it the other way. We're talking about it's the even bigger surprise, but because it could just be like a cherry on top thing, right? It could be like, oh, and by the way, everybody play this game like next month or something like that. And it's like a smaller one, and everybody's still crazy excited about it, and it elevates a game that would have kind of gotten lost in the sauce at a bigger showcase later in the year or something, or at a different time. Now you're part of a smaller show and you're the cherry on the top after everybody's already hyped, and now you get, hey, to launch soon, play this game, and it's like a smaller kind of experience that just adds to the pipeline of shit we have to play in 2025. You could also look at it that direction. I'm trying to think about marketing perspectives and like what their intention is of which games to hold back for surprises and whatnot. Because last year was Visions of Mana.
Correct. Could it
right?
be Final Fantasy 16 Shadow dropped? Like
Could
everybody said is like that'd be one way to start the show,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
After the show, available after the show. Final Fantasy 16.
yeah. Final Fantasy,
Continue the Square trend.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then we're also announcing that
Yeah.
remake is hitting later this year, and re-
Okay, well now
and and
that
then
would be a big
rebirth
one.
and rebirth
Yeah.
is next year.
Yeah,
They
and the
announced
third
all
installment will
three.
be day 1. And this third installment will be day 1.
Yeah, and they announced the actual third installment and what the
Yeah,
title
it'll
is
be
at
day
this
1.
thing. It's saying
Okay,
2027.
we're back to the big ass present at the end of the
Yeah.
fucking Christmas.
Hey, and for the next 3 years, every year you're gonna have a brand new Final Fantasy VII remake game to play on
That would be
Xbox.
fucking nuts.
Yeah, and you're gonna get the best experience.
Oh my god.
And they're in
But
Game
no,
Pass. No, I'm just kidding.
I think any of their partner games that we haven't heard about for a very long time could show up. Now, the only question is, do they keep it all 2025 or do they break the rules and just go outside of that and tease one for next year? That might be, coming out next year that we haven't had an update on a long time, right? They could, I mean, again, I don't know anything says that they can't do that here. So maybe it is like a surprise. Ones if they just show up and flash the screen with a car and it's Forza Horizon to Japan, and there's Mount Fuji in the background. It's Forza Horizon 6, right? They just splash it. They said coming soon or whatever, details later or whatever. Just splash it. That's how you start the show. Like that would be incredibly exciting for a lot of people too. Just to know that it exists, something that everybody's been asking for, right? But like I said, they're partners that they've announced that they've been working with for so long. Even this one map could be a tease for People Can Fly's new game that they just that they signed on a $50 million deal. If it's not something like the Marcus Phoenix collection, if it is something different, but IO and all these other ones, yeah, man, I think it's wide open what they could do here. I don't think it has to fit a certain mold at all. Like you said, I don't think it'll be in the same vein as the secret one. I don't think that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be two different kinds of announcements that we're gonna have as surprises, right?
All I know is Tina and Meanie don't miss, so it's gonna be a great show, whatever it is.
Yeah,
She don't.
100%.
Her team don't miss. I can't wait to see the behind the scenes. Again, Sandfall is my most hyped. I can't wait to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Sandfall.
for Claire Obscure
Claire
Expedition
Obscure.
33. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the developers of that, it's going to be interesting watching them talk about it because I think there's some real talent there at that studio, and this is like a dream kind of game for them to create. Former Ubisoft devs that are kind of unleashed to do their own thing. They got the Game Pass deal, they got a lot of hype behind it. It's slated for this spring, and I think this will be a Sample Interactive will be a name that we become more familiar with over time. So
They
this is
stick this landing.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think it'll be like our introduction to them. Um, a lot of talent there. Are really I believe in that studio right now from what I've seen so
Mhm.
far.
Yep. That ain't bullshit. I'll tell you that fucking
Yeah.
much.
Oh man, if only Ubisoft had that talent to help get their games in line. Did you hear the Black Flag remaster potentially coming out?
Yeah, I saw your post post underneath it too, or whatever else. No thanks. And he posted
Yeah, no,
Pirate
I'm good.
Yakuza.
Yeah,
I'm good. Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
Black
great.
Flag still plays fine, like it would be
It
nice to get a
does.
remake or remaster, but I'd rather just get an update.
I'm still excited for it, so I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
I love it. I love pirate games, so flat out number one. So updating it, changing some of the mechanics is awesome. But again, what I saw from Pirate Yakuza, I mean, come on, man. Especially just the ship combat, like, bro, that was on another level,
Yeah,
just fun. But will I go back and play a Black Flag if they redo it? Yeah, of course I will. I think it's one of their better ones for sure. It's probably top 5 for me, maybe top 6, top 5 maybe. I have to think about it, but yeah, Black Flag is freaking awesome. And see it updated now would be great. Again, is this Ubisoft just trying to cash in? Yeah, of course it is. They're
that's
desperate right
probably
now.
one of their Switch 2 games.
Probably.
That would make sense if
Probably.
they're remaking or remastering it. That would make sense
Mhm.
to launch it on the Switch 2. Why not?
Yep.
I don't think it
Yep.
was already on the Switch, was it? I don't think it was possible.
No,
So
not as far as I'm aware of.
yeah, maybe that's some of the other games is like some of the classic Assassin's Creeds coming over there to the Switch.
Mhm.
And maybe the good news is if games get ported sometimes to different devices, like we get updates on all of them on
Correct.
certain platforms because they kind of go back to work and do updates and stuff. Well, we're gonna go ahead and uh, you know give updates to the other versions as well, right?
Mhm.
So
It's always good, man. We've seen that multiple times. We saw what
yeah,
Baldur's Gate 3 optimization did for the rest of the fucking, all the editions, right? So, we see this guy Dying Light, too, another one, that got optimized for Series S, and all of a sudden all the versions were running better, right? It is great. It is fun. Um, yeah, man.
especially on last gen ports. Like if
Of
you port
course.
like a last gen game that was like
Yeah.
to the Switch 2 now, you're probably gonna get some massive updates on it that they could translate
Cross your
to
fingers.
other platforms.
Cross your fingers. Can we get this? Can we get the 60 patch for Red Dead Redemption 2?
Oh god. If Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out on the Switch.
Switch to, you know it's coming.
Yeah,
You know
100%.
Rockstar's gonna be there. You know they're gonna be there with their games. Like Strauss is salivating right now to switch to possibilities of having that many new gamers. He's gonna try to squeeze the goddamn
Oh,
Grand Theft
GTA
Auto 6 on
5
it.
will probably be
GTA 5 on it. Yeah, he's
yeah.
going to try to do that. Guarantee it. The online version, you can guarantee it, it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
just hope that if that happens,
Mm,
they've put enough work into it to give us a good update
mm.
to give us 60 frames on current gen consoles. Crossing my
That'd be
fingers.
that'd be great.
Crossing my fingers and holding my breath.
Again, I'll eventually just buy it on PC and play it there. I eventually will.
I
I just
dude,
I have so many games.
I have it I have it on PC.
I
I've
know.
just
You said
dabbled.
it's glorious.
Oh, it is as great
On
as
the
it
ultra
looks.
wide. Yeah.
It's amazing, dude. I think it was like on sale for ridiculously cheap at some point, and so I got it on
It
Steam.
does. It goes down to $20 sometimes, so
Yeah,
I'll eventually pick it up. So, but I got to start looking at myself honestly and be like, I just have no time. I'm
yeah.
not going
We
to
need
go
to
through
have a
that.
rebound of the no gooders show up on Red Dead Online, but playing on 120 frames per second or whatever, on
Mhm.
PC. There's so many settings too.
Yes. I've heard that. I've heard it's
It's
ridiculous how much
ridiculous.
you can change
Yeah.
and manipulate. Yeah. Mhm. Now, did you
Um,
hmm, go
we
ahead.
get into Shuhei, good old
Yeah.
Shu.
Yoshida-san.
So
Go.
uh, so he didn't want to talk about PSVR 2, which was interesting, right?
I mean, my take on it was because they didn't learn their lesson from the Vita.
Right.
It's honestly the same scenario. They were going to have to take prime developers off their first party studios to make big budget AAA games to push the VR space, and the VR space wasn't growing. And you just don't have the resources to take away from your main studios. I that's how I took it. So, but anyways, if you got a different take on it, but I think that's why because he had already mentioned the Vita. Then when Greg brought that up, he was like, "Let's move on."
Well, that and like what we talked about early on before it came out. Like I think we were on the page that like PSVR 2 was we were happy that they're investing in the technology to help push it forward, but
Always.
we just didn't see the potential for a great success with it financially for PlayStation because when you're
You can
making
all you can go all the way back and hear me say that I thought it was going to be potentially the next Vita. You go
yeah,
all the way back and hear it.
100%.
I'd said it. Yep, all the way back because
Um
that's the first thing that crossed my mind when they announced it again. I was like, "What are we doing? What are you
yeah.
doing? You're spreading yourself thin." Anyway, sorry.
But it's like we said this early on and people kick back on us because like you're
Mhm,
making an expensive device that's an accessory for another device, right?
mhm.
Yes, eventually they enabled stuff for PC, but it's not as it's not a great as great for PC as something like a MetaQuest. So it's not really going to compete for those gamers, really, right? Um, so having it locked that ecosystem at launch when you only have a certain amount of games to look forward to, and again, like you said, they have to take away um they have to make games for it. So you have developers that are making stuff for something that only has a very small install base, right? Because like they weren't going to sell 20 million of these things, that like even if they matched what they did with the PSVR 1, it was only going to be a very small percentage of the owners. But launching earlier this gen, there's this even smaller amount of PS5s that were out there than the PS4s were. So you just have, and it's more expensive, and the console's more expensive. So your barrier of entry into it was just astronomical, and it was always going to relegate you to a tiny market. It just didn't make a lot of business sense for them to spend a lot of development power and investment into making tons of games for this thing because there's nobody to buy them. Unless they were that convinced that it was going to be the future that they invested everything into it and were like, we're going to do so amazing that everybody's going to have to spend so much money to get this thing. I just saw it being a disaster from the get-go and predicted that it was going to be something that was going to be kind of by the wayside within a couple years. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Is this thing that was just easy to predict, right? As sad as it is. Meanwhile, again, it was more things that they wasted their time on and money, and developers' time on, instead of making tentpole first party PlayStation games. Um, Shuhei also seemed like he wasn't on board for the whole third party games of service movement. That was something that came out from from this whole thing with Greg Miller, the interview, and maybe that's why he got put in the place that he was at. I think his advice to Herman
Mhm.
Hulse, he said, would have to try and steer away from that. Well, today, the same day that he says that, two of those games got canceled. This was absolutely hilarious. Advice to Herman is like, was Shuhei was Herman Hulse listening to the interview? Like,
No,
that's a good idea, Shuhei. I'm going to go ahead and do this now. No, this was already in the works, right?
and a little side note, what's nuts is that Herman Hulse once again saves Horizon game out of the
Yeah,
group.
yeah,
Like
100%. Yeah.
I could not believe the Horizon, and they just announced a Horizon movie. Like Herman Hulse's baby will live forever as long
Yeah.
as he's at PlayStation.
Which another
Forever.
thing Shuhei had mentioned on this interview is that Forbidden West kind of didn't really meet the sales of Horizon Zero Dawn.
He was surprised by that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I mean that's kind of been a trend this generation for PlayStation first party games for the most part.
Yeah, it's been hit or miss.
Yeah, it hasn't been like
They've
the
had some
success,
hits, but
success, success, success like
no,
it was
no,
last gen.
no.
Um, and I think that
But Mav, look at console sales.
yeah, I see them.
5-1, Mav.
I see them. I see them.
5-1, Mav. It don't matter.
Yeah. And that's always going to be reported as 5-1 now because it was that for like a period of time. Well, as opposed to like it being,
And that's not in the US either.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's closer to like two to. It's a little over 2-1,
Yeah.
right? If
But we
for
know Xbox
overall
hasn't
or
been
whatever.
making consoles. That's a fact. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it's not. I mean, again, this is not the strategy I'd go for if it was Xbox, but whatever. It's happening. But yeah, no, it's not everywhere that it was that. But everybody runs with that. So whatever.
yeah. What else did you take away from Shuhei's interview?
I mean, I used the interview a lot when I was talking when I first came in, pretty hard
Yeah,
and explosive pause.
pretty hard and explosive.
Explosive, yeah, right. Um, I mean, again, what always catches me off guard is the man himself. Um,
Yeah,
and the persona behind that man. And again, I don't care what the situation right now is with Xbox. I don't care behind the scenes what's happening there. If you're Phil, I'm making that call daily to Yoshida, son, and I'm saying, listen, tell me what it's going to take. We need help in the East. I'll give you name the title and name your price, and I will give it to you in the East. AAA all the way down to indie. I will give you the East for Xbox. And if you're Satya and you don't see the talent, even as a non-gamer, that this man brought to PlayStation, and you don't see that his demotion was not him performance-wise, that this was a Jim Ryan move, because of the games as a service initiative that Shuhei admits that he would not be promoting. I don't know what else to tell you guys. Go do this. Go get this man. Maybe he doesn't want to. He did not close the door on the industry. So I don't care. Name your price, name your title. You control our Eastern Division. Go hog ass wild, right? That's what I'm doing. But again, the man catches me off guard because in interviews and everywhere else, the dude is just one of the nicest, happiest guys ever. Even when he's talking about some of the stuff, he
Yeah.
can get serious for sure. When he's talking some of the business stuff, you could see the business acumen. You could see, he's been in this industry for freaking 4 decades, 5 decades now. Like it's all there. Like what he did to help build PlayStation's all there. And you can see him get serious, but man, even when he's talking about some of that stuff, it's just always a smile on his face, always jovial, loves this industry through and through. Just loves it, right? May not agree with all the directions it's going in, may have some very strong views on what he likes in gaming versus kind of trends and that kind of stuff for sure. Anybody at that success level, anybody who's been in this industry for a long time, even hell, us gamers get that way. So that's all, guaranteed, but it just shines through that his love and passion for this industry still to this day, even through all the stuff he's been through. And then, like I said before, when we talked about him, then you hear what he's like when he walks into your fucking studio as a boss. And
Yeah.
there is just a different level to Yoshida-san. The nice guy could still be there if everything's going great. He could be very happy dude, claps on the back, congratulating everybody, shaking hands. But if you show off your game and it ain't right, it's coming down on you. And he could be the end of your game. He could be the end of your studio back in the day when he was controlling things. And people knew that. People sweated his trips to their studio. They loved the guy. They loved the guy. They didn't hate him. They didn't hate that he was coming, but they knew that if they weren't keeping the standards to a certain level, which was very, very high, that Shuhei Yoshida-san was going to walk into that studio and let you fucking know about it. And to me, that is wild, the two halves of this man. And that is something that I do think this industry has shied away from and has moved away from. The heavy hitters. We've always talked about that, Matt. You need the heavy hitters. You need the people to keep people on pace. You need to keep. We've now had multiple examples officially of studios coming out and saying that there was too much toxic positivity behind the scenes, like Concord. Nobody could say a bad word about that damn game to anybody inside the studio. That's why they missed Shuhei. That's why you got to have that guy, whether you are Nintendo, whether you are PlayStation, whether you are Xbox. That guy or gal has to walk in and demand that respect, knowing that even if you're the nicest person, biggest smile on the face of the planet, let's go have drinks, let's go have dinner afterwards, let's go have drinks, let's go talk, let's go celebrate. Even if you're that guy, when he walks into your studio, you sit up and respect. You are giving your best daily, knowing that his trip is coming, whether it's a month or whether it's 6 months or a year from now. You are preparing for that day when Yoshida is walking through your doors constantly. That is some of what I believe is missing in this industry and why we've seen the quality go down. And I think, again, that's why it's so invaluable. That's why I said early when I came in here that it's almost a bigger kind of overlooked part of the games of service initiative that if that is the case, and again, it's straight from the horse's mouth, that he got pushed out of that space to move down to indies because they knew he wasn't agreeing with that move, then you lost more than what is just upfront kind of in your face, like the experience and all that kind. You missed that big stick walking through your dev studios. And it showed up, man, because we've seen their quality slip. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying any of that shit. You guys know me. But I'm saying we have not seen the same level of Sony quality. Is that because of one man no longer really being in that role anymore? It's a possibility it plays a part of that. And if I had to place my bets, I would say yes, along with some of the other moves Jim made as well. But I love this dude through and through. As somebody who has seen him in this industry for a very long time, if I was ever to show up one of these shows and I knew he was there, he'd be somebody that I would seek out. And I'm not the biggest fanboy of all this stuff in the industry, right? It'd be cool to meet everybody, obviously in the community, all that kind of stuff. That's totally different, right? But as far as the big wigs in in all these different places in the gaming industry, I wouldn't seek out too many people. But Shuhei Yoshida, I would seek him out and I would want just to shake his hand and thank him for his contributions to this industry. Because without him, PlayStation isn't the same, which means this industry is not the same overall. So again, every interview, and especially this one, because he was relaxed. He's out of that position. He's talking freely about most of the topics. He was giving up golden nuggets everywhere. Love that man even more now after watching this interview. So that's what I'll
Yeah.
say on him.
Yeah, it was interesting listening to. I didn't get through a whole lot of it, but I've seen a lot of clips too, from it, and just overall his demeanor, it seems like weight off my
Yeah.
shoulders now. Mentioned how the last 6 weeks were like fantastic for him because everybody was just like so nice and everything. He also mentioned how the last like 4 or 5 years when he was in this different position, he wasn't the same old like, you know, uh uh character that you're referring to, where it's like everybody's
Yeah.
intimidated because like he was helping more young developers and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff with the
come
indie
crush the
games.
dreams of
Right,
indie games
exactly. Like,
studios, right?
what the fuck is this? Why is this fun? What
No
makes
wonder why
your
you're an indie studio.
why are
It's
there only
trash.
one of you making this? You need to hire more people. Like
You can't do that.
Is this all you can do by yourself? Do better. Like, yeah, it's
Not doing enough. Yeah, no, you
work
can't do that.
harder.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, like, but yeah, hearing the stories and stuff still, that kind of go along with like the way he was, dating back to the dawn of PlayStation and stuff. Like, we're losing like a lot of the original people that kind of made them what they were, and you're kind of seeing a shift right now. And I I know that the shift that they're doing with the moving away from the games of service development on all these projects, like, is probably like in the end a better thing, right? Because they don't need to do all of them, right? It still came at a cost at a time when there was this transitional period. Shuhei kind of got brushed aside, put into that other role. You had other people, the money guys winning there, trying to do different things, turn PlayStation into more than just that kind of cinematic game experience company that they kind of turned themselves into. But I think like it's gonna be interesting to find out what they become in the future. Like, what are these? Do they just double down on what the PS4 generation was for them going forward? How many chances are they willing to take in the multiplayer space going forward? Do they try and focus on reviving old IP? Um, I think one thing we can expect, because they're not going to be making as many games of service games. Something else that Shuhei Yoshida had said was that they need to be making these remakes and remasters and ports to PC to help fund their expensive first party games. And what I think we can see more if is more of that, and more games going to PC earlier. Um and instead of waiting like 2 years or whatever. I think it was Spider-Man 2 was like a year after launch um to PC, or less than. When did Spider-Man 2 come out exactly? I think it's like the shortest time span between big major release to PC launch that we've seen from first party, as opposed to, unless you're talking about Helldivers 2, which was day and date. But I think it's something we're going to see more and more of going forward on some of these other PlayStation first party games, like Ghost of Yote. Do we see that 6 months after? I remember there's also an article that said that they are was it, I think it was Herman Holst had come out and was interviewed or something, and was talking about how they are doing multi-platform or the multiplayer game service games will be day and date on PC, and then the other ones will be, you know, for a timed period, right? But I think that time period is shrinking and shrinking. So Ray Oid says September 2023 for Spider-Man 2, and it hits this month, or I forget, when did Spider-Man 2 hit on PC? Alvin says 15 months between. That's pretty. It's a little over a year, right? That's pretty narrow. I think a lot of people would be content with waiting on certain franchises. Obviously, some won't be, but I think that 15 months becomes even smaller as they get used to porting these things. Turns into maybe 9 at some point, right? Becomes maybe 6 months at some point. And then maybe they get to the point where it is day and date. And once gamers start to accept the fact that other people are playing the games on PlayStation, on PC, at some point where they can say, well, we're going to try this one that was so expensive to make on PC day and date because we need to sell to the customers that are never going to buy a PlayStation. Right. At some point, it's going to get to that point, especially when Xbox is making the moves that they're making. Right. They have less fear to do so, maybe in the console space. So we'll see how that all pans out. But I think we're going to see that shrink continuously as their other means of helping increase their revenue have not succeeded. Right. Seems like PC and remasters are what's been doing it for them. So
Certainly hasn't hurt.
no.
No.
Interesting.
Mhm.
All right.
Really cool. Love to sit down with him and talk with him sometime too. I mean, interview him. Just the history, just the stories he could tell, even the background stuff, even not necessarily specifically about PlayStation or whatever. Just some of the meetings he's had, some of the discussions that have had around the gaming industry. I'd love to hear some of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Be dope, man.
Well, Paul,
Yeah,
kind of ran the gamut here.
we did, sir. And I could use my bed.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I know you're tired. So
Yeah, if you got anything else, let me know.
no,
Yeah,
I think we're good. We'll have Xbox Ultimate podcast tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if there's anything that happens in between now and then, we'll definitely have stuff to add. But definitely more speculation coming your way for the Dev Direct, and also more conversation about some of these other things that we've been talking about tomorrow night.
Shout out to Saber, 6 million. 6 million for Space Marine 2.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Shout out to Focus and shout out to Saber. Still selling. Again, long legs for that type of game, which is awesome. So I just wanted to shout them out real quick because that's freaking amazing. Again, we're going to see more of those games 3, 4, 5 years down the road because of that game. We're going to have that stretch run, as always. Trends do that. Because again, that game wasn't the most expensive game, didn't take the longest to make, and harkens back to the old days, and can help the devs, and they had time to optimize it and everything else. I think we're going to see more of those types of games down the road just because of that success right there. So I'm happy for it.
Absolutely. I think, it's a copycat industry, right?
Yep.
People see success of something, they chase it. That's why we have so many Souls-like games and stuff like that now, right? It's why you have games of service games that everybody was chasing Fortnite for a while and all these other kind of things, right? So when a game is successful like that, it leads other companies to have more confidence in doing something like that, right? So props to them, and can't wait to see what else they end up making.
Yeah, I can't either. And they got a lot in the works too. Focus has been hitting pretty good numbers. So we're going to see a lot more from Focus and Saber too. So can't wait.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well.
Yep. Let me do my outro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, are you leading the way or am I leading? I'm kind of confused.
You lead the way. You've been leading the whole show, so you lead the way.
Okay. All right.
You do it. Yeah.
Well, Pong Soul. This was a great episode of PM in the PM. And chat, you guys rock. Thank you all for being here tonight on this Thursday night. It was a very fun show. Lots to cover tonight. But hey, Pong, tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely, sir. And again, sorry everybody. It's one of those freaking crazy ass weeks, but appreciate you all coming out. Like Mav said, again, these shows are nothing without every single one of you. You guys coming out here 100 plus every Thursday night for us means the world. This is a great start to 2025. Gaming industry continues to boom, and again, the news is just flowing now. We love this. We're through the holidays, but the games are also coming. So we're gonna have Tokyo Extreme Racer. We're gonna have Sniper Elite Resistance. I got games to play at the end of this month too, on top of the shit I already have backlogged, on top of the shit I already have in my library, on top of the shit that I still have from 3 years ago that I haven't touched. My God, man. But I love you all for it. Nothing but love and respect for supporting this show and all the other ones as well. You guys know how to find me. Pong Soul on the Xbox, Pong Soul on X, formerly known as Twitter, Pong Soul on, of course, Steam, GOG, Epic, everywhere. You know that. Shout out to SpaceX too, by the way, for grabbing. Didn't go all perfect today, but they did grab another booster, by the way. That was freaking awesome. Obviously, I'm off tomorrow. So as long as all hell doesn't break loose at the house while I'm trying to do all this shit tomorrow, I should be on Xbox Ultimate. That shouldn't be a problem tomorrow night. So join us here, like Mav said, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. This same bat channel right here, where the family gets together. We never know how many are going to be there. Last week we had a freaking full ass panel. It was amazing. PTK joined us. We even had the shop podcast completely together, which hasn't happened in a long time. But no matter how many of us, whether it's 3 of us or whether it's 8 of us, we're going to have a good time on Friday night. So join us tomorrow night. And then Saturday morning, it looks like we're all good to go again for Living Split Screen. So join me and Steel live, raw, and uncut Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3+ hours. Buckle up. I think last week was almost 5 hours again. It was crazy. We get into a whole lot of topics, and we've been doing more that people won't touch. It's not a guarantee, but man, oh man, sometimes our chat just brings it out of me and Steel, and we aren't afraid to dive into it because we encourage discussion. Unlike a lot of society these days, Living Split Screen encourages discussion even when we disagree, as long as you agree to not get personal, and as long as you agree to walk away still on amicable terms. We are okay with having those talks. So that's what we do on Saturday mornings, plus a whole lot of game talk, because we run through all the games we've been playing, and Steel's been playing a ton. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, Living Split Screens, all one word. Be there for that. Keep your eyes and ears open. When the shop returns, we will let you know for Saturday nights. Not as of yet, but keep your eyes and ears open. Next week, always check out Tuesdays. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Boomstick is the man, 5 days a week. But Tuesdays, all good things green. Xbox Factor podcast. That starts at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there for that. And then I'll be back here, God willing, next Thursday night to talk about the Dev freaking Direct. It's going to be freaking amazing. Let's go. PM in the PM next week. It's a golden age of gaming, people. Please get out there. Play what you love. Love what you play. And I'll talk to y'all real soon. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Also, we will have, I think, another guest tomorrow night.
Nice.
An awesome one. But I want to make sure, I want to confirm before I announce it, right? So, Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, like I said earlier. Then Monday's FSP at also 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be back then, and who knows, Mondays are usually full with some kind of news as well. And there is potential that Thursday I'll have 3 streams. I don't know how many streams we're doing that day. We'll have PM in the PM that night, but for sure during the day, I'll be co-streaming the Developer Direct. So everybody, if you want to have a place to come and hang out and watch that, come hang out with us and watch the Dev Direct with us, and it'll be a blast. Besides that, everyone, I hope you have a good one. Oh yeah, audio listeners. Hey, shout out to you. Appreciate all the audio listeners. I need to get FSP up. I'm late on it. It's coming. I'm gonna try and get it on there tonight, and then get PM in the PM up there tomorrow. But hope you all have a good one. Peace out. Take it easy.
Later, all.
Good night. Bye.